My daughter gave me a brand new tablet for my 75th birthday. I brought it to my grandson's place the next day. He is a cybersecurity analyst. He looked at it for 5 minutes and went pale. He whispered, "Grandpa, we need to call the police." I did not believe him. But 11 days later, I watched as officers put my only daughter in handcuffs. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe if you have ever had to stand up to family who underestimated your worth. My name is Reginald Carter, but everyone calls me Reggie. I am 75 years old. I spent 40 years as a senior mechanic for Ford. I know engines. I know how things work. I know that when you hear a knocking sound deep inside a block, it means something is broken even if the car is still running. That Sunday was my 75th birthday, a milestone. It should have been a celebration of a life built on hard work and honest sweat. But as I sat at the head of my dining table, the air felt heavy. It felt like the air before a thunderstorm in July, thick, suffocating. My dining room has not changed much since my wife Betty passed away 10 years ago. The wallpaper is a bit faded. The oak table has scratches from decades of family dinners. But it is clean. It is paid for. It is mine. Sitting to my right was my daughter Keisha. She is 40 years old and she looked beautiful. She always does. She wore a dress that probably cost more than my monthly pension check. Her hair was perfect. Her nails were perfect. But her smile did not reach her eyes. She kept tapping her fingers on the tablecloth. A nervous rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Sitting across from her was her husband Brad, my son-in-law. Brad is a real estate agent, or at least that is what he tells people. He is 45 years old and wears suits that shine a little too much under the lights. He is a white man who has never held a wrench in his life. He has soft hands. He was checking his expensive watch every 3 minutes. He looked around my modest living room with a look I knew well. It was disdain. He looked at my old recliner and the family photos on the wall as if he were afraid he might catch a disease called poverty. "Reggie, this neighborhood is really going downhill," Brad said. He did not even look at me when he said it. He was cutting a piece of the supermarket cake they had brought. He poked at the frosting. I saw a foreclosure sign 2 doors down. "You really should think about your assets, Reggie. You are sitting on equity that is just rotting away in this zip code." I took a sip of my iced tea. I kept my voice calm. "This neighborhood is fine, Brad. I know my neighbors. I know their names. I know their kids. That is worth more than equity." Brad laughed. It was a short, dry sound. It was not a happy laugh. It was a laugh that said he thought I was a fool. "Community does not pay the bills, Reggie. The market is shifting. You have to be smart. You are not getting any younger." Keisha reached out and touched Brad's arm. "Not today, honey. It is Dad's birthday. Let us have a nice time." She turned to me. Her eyes were bright, too bright, like high beams on a dark road. She reached under her chair and pulled out a box. It was wrapped in shiny silver paper with a big blue bow. "Happy birthday, Daddy," she said. Her voice went up an octave. It was the voice she used when she was 6 years old and wanted ice cream. "We got you something special, something to help you stay connected." I took the box. It was heavy. I tore the paper. Inside was a white box with a picture of a sleek black screen. It was a tablet, the newest model. I had seen the commercials during the football games. These things cost a fortune, probably $1,000. I looked at Keisha. "Honey, this is too much. You know I am not good with these gadgets. My old flip phone works just fine." "Oh, stop it, Dad," Keisha said. She waved her hand dismissively. "You need to get with the times. This isn't just a gadget. It is for us, so we can video call you. So you can see us every day. You are always saying you get lonely. Now you can see my face whenever you want." Brad leaned back in his chair. He took a sip of the wine he had brought because he refused to drink my iced tea. "Yeah, Reggie. Welcome to the 21st century. Just try not to use it as a coaster. Hope you can figure out where the power button is." I ignored him. I looked at the device. It was beautiful, I admit, but it felt cold in my hands. I am a man who likes gears and pistons, things I can fix. This was a slab of black glass. It felt like a mystery I was not meant to solve. "Here, let me set it up for you right now," Keisha said. She stood up and walked around the table. She stood behind me. Her perfume was strong, expensive. It filled my nose. "We do not have to do it now, baby," I said. I wanted to eat my cake. I wanted to just sit. No, we have to do it now," she insisted. She took the box from my hands and opened it. She peeled off the plastic film. She pressed a button, and the screen glowed with a white Apple logo. "It takes 2 minutes, Dad. I want to make sure it is ready for you so you do not get frustrated later." She tapped on the screen. Her fingers moved fast. Too fast for me to follow. She was connecting to my Wi-Fi. She knew the password because she had asked for it the moment she walked in the door. "Okay, Dad, now this is important," she said. She held the tablet up in front of my face. "Look right here at the camera. Hold still." "What are you doing?" I asked. I tried to lean back. "I do not like cameras pointing at me." "It is Face ID, Daddy. It is for security. It means you do not have to remember a password. You just look at it and it unlocks. It is so easy. Just look at the dot. Move your head in a circle. Like this." She guided my head with her hands. Her hands were cold. I felt foolish moving my head in a circle while Brad watched and smirked. "Okay, good," Keisha said. "Now give me your finger. Your thumb." She grabbed my right hand. My hand is rough. I have calluses that are 50 years old. I have grease stains that will never wash out. She pressed my thumb against the bottom of the screen. "Lift. Press again. Lift. Press again." "Why do you need my fingerprint?" I asked. I felt a strange knot in my stomach. A warning. "It is just another way to get in." "Dad," she said, "in case the camera does not see you in the dark. It is standard. Everyone does it. Do you want to be locked out of your own gift?" "No, I suppose not," I mumbled. She finished the setup. She downloaded some apps. She typed in things I could not see. Then she handed it back to me. "There you go. All set." I put my number in there. And Brad's and Jamal's. "You just tap our faces and boom, we are talking." "Thank you, baby," I said. I tried to sound grateful. I really did. She was my daughter. She had bought me a generous gift. But the knot in my stomach did not go away. They did not stay long after that. As soon as the cake was eaten, Brad stood up. He brushed crumbs off his pants. "Well, we have got to get going," he said. "Early showing tomorrow. Big property. Very exclusive." Keisha kissed my cheek. "Happy birthday, Dad. Use the tablet, okay? Promise me you will keep it charged. Promise me you will keep it on the nightstand next to your bed." "I promise," I said. They left. I stood in the doorway and watched them get into Brad's leased BMW. They argued as they got in. I could see Brad's hands waving. I could see Keisha's face tight with anger. Then they put on their masks of smiles as they drove away. I went back inside. The house felt very quiet. The silence of a widower's house is a heavy thing. Usually I do not mind it. But tonight it felt different. I cleaned up the cake plates. I washed the forks. I wiped the table. Then I picked up the tablet. I walked to my bedroom. I sat on the edge of the bed. I looked at the black screen. I tapped it. It lit up immediately. It saw my face and unlocked. It was clever, I had to admit. I placed it on the nightstand just like Keisha asked. I turned off the lamp. I lay down in the dark. I stared at the ceiling. I thought about Brad's comments about the house. I thought about Keisha's cold hands guiding my head. I thought about how they never asked me how I was really doing. They never asked about my garden. They never asked about my old friends from the factory. They only talked about assets, equity, the future. I closed my eyes. I was drifting off to sleep when I saw it. A flash of light. I opened my eyes. The room was dark, but the tablet screen was on. It was glowing a faint gray, not bright like the home screen, just a dim glow. I had not touched it. I had not moved. I sat up. I looked at the device. Then the little green light next to the camera lens flickered. It blinked. Once. Twice. I froze. I know machines. Machines do what they are told. If a light comes on, it is because a circuit was closed. It is because a command was sent. I reached out and turned the tablet face down on the nightstand. The room went dark again, but the feeling remained. The feeling you get when you are walking down a dark alley in Detroit and the hair on the back of your neck stands up. I was alone in my house. But for the first time in 10 years, I felt like I was not the only one in the room. I did not sleep well that night. I dreamed of engines that would not stop running even when I pulled the key. I dreamed of eyes watching me from the shadows. When the sun came up, I made a decision. I am old, but I am not stupid. My gut has kept me alive this long, and my gut was telling me that this tablet was not a gift. It was a Trojan horse. I wrapped the tablet in a towel. I put it in my canvas bag. I was going to see Jamal, my grandson, Keisha's son from her first marriage. The boy Brad hated. The boy who knew computers better than I knew transmissions. If anyone could tell me why a brand new tablet was blinking at me in the dark, it was him. I put on my coat and walked out the door, not knowing that I was taking the first step into a war against my own flesh and blood. The bus ride to downtown Detroit felt longer than usual. I sat in the back with my canvas bag clutched tight against my chest. Every time the bus hit a pothole, I flinched. I felt like I was carrying a bomb. Not an explosive made of gunpowder and wire, but something more dangerous. A bomb made of glass and silicon that could blow my life apart. I looked out the window at the gray streets. I tried to tell myself I was just a paranoid old man. I tried to hear Keisha's voice in my head telling me I was being silly, that I needed to get with the times. But then I remembered the blinking green light in the dark. Machines do not blink unless they are working, and it should not have been working while I slept. Jamal lives in a building that used to be a car factory. Now it is all exposed brick and big windows, loft apartments for young people with money. I pressed the buzzer. His voice crackled through the intercom. "Hey, Grandpa, come on up." The elevator ride was smooth. Too smooth. I missed the rattle of the old freight elevators. When the doors opened, Jamal was waiting for me. He is 22 years old, and he is the best thing Keisha ever did. He is tall and thin, with glasses that are always sliding down his nose. He wears hoodies and jeans. He looks like a kid who should be playing video games, but I know better. Jamal works for a firm that protects banks from hackers. He sees the invisible wars that happen in the wires every day. "Hey, Pops." He hugged me. He smelled like coffee and ozone. I hugged him back hard. He was the only one in the family who did not look at me like I was a broken transmission. "You okay?" "You sounded weird on the phone," Jamal said. He pulled back and looked at me. His eyes are sharp. Nothing gets past him. I walked into his apartment. It was cool and dim. Computer screens were everywhere. Some were vertical, some were horizontal. They were all glowing with lines of code that looked like a foreign language to me. "I need you to look at something," I said. I walked over to his kitchen island and put my bag down. I unwrapped the towel. I pulled out the tablet. Jamal smiled. "Nice. Mom finally got you an upgrade, huh?" "The new Pro model. That is a serious piece of hardware." He reached for it. "Be careful," I said. My voice was low. "Just be careful with it, son." Jamal looked at me confused, but he nodded. He picked it up. He tapped the screen. It lit up. "What is the passcode?" he asked. I gave it to him. He typed it in. The home screen appeared. It looked innocent. Just colorful icons. The weather, the news, photos. "It seems normal," Pops Jamal said. He swiped back and forth. "It is fast. The screen is crisp. What is the problem?" "It was watching me," I said. "Watching me. Last night." The light came on. It blinked. Jamal stopped swiping. He looked at the little green dot next to the camera. He frowned. "Maybe it was an update," he said. "Or a notification." "Check it," I said. "Please. Just look under the hood." Jamal sighed. He thought I was being a confused senior citizen. I could see it in his face. But he respects me. So he carried the tablet over to his main desk. He sat down in his expensive ergonomic chair. "Give me 5 minutes," he said. "I will run a diagnostic, just to give you peace of mind." I stood behind him. I watched his hands. They did not look like my hands. My hands are scarred and thick. His hands are long and elegant. They flew across his keyboard. He plugged a white cable into the tablet and connected it to his massive computer tower. A black window popped up on his big monitor. White text started scrolling down fast, faster than anyone could read. Jamal took a sip of his energy drink. He looked bored. He was humoring me. Then he stopped drinking. He leaned forward. The chair creaked. He typed something quickly. The text on the screen turned red. I saw his shoulders stiffen. He took his glasses off and cleaned them on his shirt, then put them back on. He squinted at the screen. "Jamal," I asked, "what is it?" He did not answer. He was typing furiously now. His fingers were a blur. The boredom was gone. It was replaced by something sharp, something focused. He unplugged the internet cable from his own computer. He cut his connection to the outside world. "Grandpa," he whispered, "who gave you this?" "Your mother," I said. "Keisha. And Brad. For my birthday." Jamal turned around. His face was pale. I mean, it was gray. He looked like he had seen a ghost. This was brand new out of the box, he asked. You saw them open the plastic? Yes, I said. Keisha opened it right in front of me. She set it up. Jamal ran a hand over his face. He looked sick. Grandpa, this tablet has been rooted. What does that mean? I asked. It means the factory security has been broken, he said. It is like someone taking the locks off the doors of a house so they can walk in whenever they want. But it is worse than that. He pointed at the red text on the screen. See this line right here. This is not commercial software. You cannot buy this in the App Store. This is a rat, remote access Trojan. But it is sophisticated. This is military-grade spyware, Grandpa. This is the kind of stuff jealous dictators use to track dissidents. It costs thousands of dollars a month to run this software. I felt cold. My knees felt weak. I pulled up a chair and sat down. Explain it to me, I said. Like I am a mechanic. Jamal took a deep breath. Okay. Imagine you buy a car. But before you get the keys, someone wires a second steering wheel and a second set of brakes that they control from their house. And they also put microphones in the seats and cameras in the dashboard. He turned back to the screen. This software is recording audio 24/7, he said. It does not matter if the screen is off, the microphone is hot, it is listening right now. He typed another command. It is broadcasting the camera feed, he said, both front and back cameras. It takes a picture every 5 seconds when it detects motion. That was the flash, I said. That was the blinking light. Yes, Jamal said, but that is just the surface. Grandpa, do you do banking on your phone? No, I said. I go to the branch. Good, Jamal said, because this thing has a keylogger. A what? A keylogger. It records every single place you touch the screen, every letter you type, every password, every number. It sends all of that data to a remote server. If you had logged into a bank account, they would have your credentials in seconds. If you typed in your social security number, they would have it. He looked at the tablet sitting on his desk like it was a venomous snake. This thing creates a digital clone of you, he said. It scrapes your contacts. It reads your emails before you even open them. It tracks your GPS location down to the inch. It knows where you are. It knows who you are with. It knows what you are saying. I thought about Keisha. I thought about her setting it up. She made me put my face in it, I said. She made me do the thumbprint. She said it was for security. Jamal slammed his hand on the desk. It made me jump. It was not for security, he said. His voice was shaking with anger. Grandpa, they needed your biometrics. This software grabs the biometric data, the face map, the fingerprint hash. If they have that, they can impersonate you. They can sign documents digitally. They can approve loans. They can access government files. He looked at me. His eyes were wide and terrified. They captured your identity, he said. When she was setting it up, she was harvesting you. I felt sick. I physically felt bile rising in my throat. My own daughter. The girl I taught to ride a bike. The girl I walked down the aisle. Why would she do this? I whispered. Jamal shook his head. I do not know. But this software is expensive. You do not use this to check if someone is taking their heart medication. You use this to build a profile on a target. You use this to gather blackmail or to steal an entire estate. He looked at the red code again. Wait, he said. He leaned in closer. What is it? He pointed to a line of text at the bottom. This server address, he said. It is routing the data. Usually these things go to a cloud server in Russia or China to hide the tracks. But this one is sloppy. Or maybe just arrogant. He typed the IP address into a tracer tool. A map appeared on the screen. A little red dot pulsed. It is local, he said. Where is it? I asked. Jamal zoomed in. The map showed the city grid. It showed the suburbs. The red dot was hovering over a house in the new development out by the lake. I knew that address. I had been there for Thanksgiving. It is sending the data to a private server at Brad's house, Jamal said. Brad, my son-in-law. The real estate agent with the shiny suits and the soft hands. He is watching you right now, Jamal said. Or at least his computer is collecting the feed. I stood up. I felt a rage I had not felt since Vietnam. It was a cold, hard rage. It settled in my chest like a stone. Turn it off, I said. Kill it. I cannot just turn it off, Jamal said. If I kill the signal, they will know. The software sends a heartbeat signal every minute. If it stops, Brad gets an alert. He will know you found it. He will know the game is up. So what do we do? I asked. Do we smash it? Jamal looked at me for a long time. He took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. He looked older than 22. Grandpa, "This is not a gift," he whispered. "This is a prisoner ankle monitor. But worse. An ankle monitor just tells them where you are. This tells them who you are. Whoever gave you this wants to own you. They want to control every aspect of your existence." He stood up and paced the small room. "If we go to the police now, we have evidence of illegal surveillance," he said. "It is a felony. Wiretapping, identity theft." But I thought about Keisha. I thought about her face when she handed me the box. Was she scared? Was Brad forcing her? Or was she part of it? Was she the one who wanted to harvest me? "I cannot call the police yet," I said. "Not on my daughter. Not until I know why. Not until I know for sure that she is not a victim too." Jamal stopped pacing. He looked at the tablet. "Okay," he said, "we do not kill it, we feed it." "What do you mean?" "We create a loop," Jamal said. "I can write a script. We can make the tablet think it is still in your bedroom. We can feed it fake audio. We can feed it old GPS data. We can make it look like you are just a boring old man sitting at home watching TV." He looked at me. "And while the tablet lies to them, we find out what they are really after." "Do it," I said. Jamal sat back down, his fingers started flying again. "Grandpa," he said without looking back, "this is dangerous. Brad is desperate. People do not use this kind of tech unless they are in deep trouble or they are greedy beyond belief. If he finds out, we know he might get violent." I touched the scar on my arm, a souvenir from a life that was not always easy. "Let him try," I said. Jamal worked for an hour. He isolated the tablet in a digital cage. He fed it a loop of silence and darkness. When he was done, he handed it back to me. It felt different now. It was not just a bomb, it was a weapon. And now it was my weapon. "You take this home," Jamal said. "You leave it on the nightstand just like they asked. You act normal. But do not say anything important near it. Do not log into anything." I put the tablet back in my canvas bag. Jamal walked me to the door. He hugged me again. This time he held on longer. "Watch your back, Grandpa," he said. I stepped into the elevator. I went down to the street. The city looked the same, but everything had changed. The gray buildings looked like prison walls. The people walking by looked like potential enemies. I got on the bus to go home. I sat in the back. I clutched the bag. My daughter wanted to watch me. She wanted to listen to me. She wanted to steal my face and my voice. Fine. I would let her watch. I would let her listen. But she was not going to see a helpless old man. She was going to see a reflection. And while she was staring at the mirror, I was going to be coming for her. I am 75 years old. I know how to fix things that are broken, and I know how to dismantle things that are dangerous. I got off the bus and walked toward my house, my empty, quiet house. The war had started, and they did not even know I was on the battlefield. I sat in Jamal's kitchen staring at the tablet like it was a loaded gun. The screen was dark, but I knew the little electronic ear inside was wide open. Jamal had explained it to me. He said he had tweaked the digital loop. For the next 3 hours, the microphone would be live. It would broadcast whatever I said in my house directly to the server in Brad's basement. "We call this a canary trap," Jamal said. He was rubbing his eyes, tired from staring at code all night. "We feed them a specific piece of information, a lie, and we see if they act on it. If they show up, Grandpa, then you know for sure." I did not want to do it. A part of me, the part that remembered holding Keisha when she was a baby wrapped in a pink blanket, wanted to throw the tablet in the river and forget everything. I wanted to believe she was innocent. I wanted to believe Brad was the villain and she was just a scared wife going along with him. But I am a man who deals in facts. Engines do not run on hope. They run on fuel and spark. I needed to know if the engine of my family was broken beyond repair. I took the tablet home. It was a Tuesday. The neighborhood was quiet. Most people were at work. I walked into my house and the silence felt heavy. It usually felt peaceful. Now it felt like a stage set waiting for an actor. I placed the tablet on the kitchen table. I propped it up against the salt shaker so the camera was facing the living room but angled away just enough to look casual. I made sure the battery was charged. Then I waited. I paced the floor. My boots made a hollow sound on the linoleum. I looked at the photos on the fridge. Keisha at her graduation. Keisha at her wedding. Keisha smiling. I had to do this. I walked over to the landline phone on the wall. It is an old yellow corded phone. I have had it since 1990. I picked up the receiver. I did not dial a number. I just held the button down with my finger. The line was dead, but to anyone listening it would sound like I was making a call. I cleared my throat. I tried to make my voice sound raspy, older, more tired than I actually was. "Hello, Otis," I said. I paused, leaving space for an imaginary answer. "Yeah, it is, Reggie. I am okay. Just tired, old friend. Just tired." I looked at the tablet. It sat there black and silent, but I knew it was screaming my voice across the city. "Listen, Otis," I continued. "I need a favor. You know that lawyer you used for your union pension? Yeah, that is the one. Do you have his number?" I paused again. I tapped my fingers on the counter. No, I am not in trouble. I just need to make a change. A big change. It is about my life insurance policy and the deed to the house." I took a deep breath. This was the bait. I have been thinking a lot since my birthday. I realized I do not need to leave all that money to family. They are doing fine. They have their own lives. I was looking through my papers this morning. I found the policy. It is worth more than I thought. $500,000. I let that number hang in the air. $500,000. To a man like Brad, that was not just money. It was oxygen. "Yeah, I have the papers right here," I said. "I kept them safe. I hid them in that old copy of Moby Dick on the bookshelf. You know, the one Betty gave me. No one ever looks in there." I laughed. A dry, fake laugh. "I am going to bring them to that lawyer tomorrow. I want to sign everything over to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. Every penny. Keisha does not need it. She has Brad. They are rich, right?" I hung up the phone. My hand was shaking. I felt sick. I had just told a lie that could destroy my family, but if they were innocent, nothing would happen. If they were innocent, they would stay home, they would eat their dinner, they would watch TV. If they were innocent, the doorbell would not ring. I sat in my recliner. I picked up a newspaper, but I could not read the words. I just watched the clock. 1 hour passed. The house settled. The refrigerator hummed. A dog barked down the street. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Jamal was wrong. Maybe the tablet was just a tablet and I was just a paranoid old man. I started to feel a flicker of hope. Maybe they were not listening. Maybe they did not care about the money. Then a car door slammed. I froze. I looked out the window through the sheer curtains. A silver SUV was parked in my driveway. It was Keisha's car. My heart stopped. It literally stopped beating for a second. It had been exactly 2 hours since I made the fake call. 2 hours. Just enough time for Brad to hear the recording call Keisha and for her to drive across town in rush hour traffic. I watched her walk up the path. She was walking fast. She was carrying a plastic container. She looked stressed. She smoothed her hair before she reached the porch. The doorbell rang. I forced myself to stay in the chair for a moment. I had to sell it. I had to be the slow, tired father. I got up. I walked to the door. I opened it. "Hi, Daddy," Keisha said. She flashed a bright smile, but her eyes were darting around the room. They were scanning, searching. "Keisha," I said. I tried to sound surprised. "Baby, what are you doing here? It is a Tuesday. Do you not have work?" "I took the afternoon off," she said. She pushed past me into the house. She did not wait for an invitation. She walked straight to the kitchen. "I made some chicken soup. I was thinking about you. You looked so thin on your birthday. I just wanted to make sure you were eating right. Chicken soup, the oldest trick in the book." "That is very sweet of you," I said. I closed the door. The lock clicked. It sounded like a cell door closing. She put the container on the counter right next to the tablet. She glanced at the device. I saw her check to make sure it was there. "Did you use your new gift today?" she asked. Her voice was too casual, too high. "Oh, a little bit." I lied. "I checked the weather. It is going to rain." "That is good, Dad," she said. She was not listening to me. She was looking at the living room. Her eyes were fixed on the bookshelf in the corner. It is a tall wooden shelf filled with manuals, old paperbacks, and my collection of classic novels. "I am going to heat this up for you," she said. "You sit down. Relax. I will take care of everything." I sat back in my recliner. I watched her. She moved around the kitchen with nervous energy. She opened drawers too hard. She dropped a spoon. She was rattling. She brought me a bowl of soup. It was store-bought. I could tell by the square carrots. She had poured it into a Tupperware container to make it look homemade. Another lie. A small one, but it added to the pile. "Eat up, Daddy," she said. She stood over me. She did not sit down. "Aren't you going to have some?" I asked. "No, I ate already. I am just going to tidy up a bit while you eat. This place is a little dusty." She walked over to the window. She adjusted the curtains. She straightened a picture frame. She was circling, like a shark circling a swimmer. She was getting closer to the corner, closer to the bookshelf. I took a spoonful of soup. It was lukewarm and salty. It tasted like betrayal. I needed to give her the opening. I needed to leave the room. If I stayed in the chair, she would not make her move. She needed to think she was alone. I put the spoon down. I groaned a little. Just a soft sound of old age. "This soup is good, baby," I said, "but it is running right through me. My stomach has been acting up lately." "Oh no," she said. "Do you need anything?" "No, just nature calling. I need to use the restroom." I stood up slowly. I made a show of grabbing my cane. I do not always use the cane, but today I needed it. I needed to look frail. I needed to look like a man who could be easily robbed. "Take your time, Dad," she said. "I will just be here cleaning." I shuffled down the hallway. The bathroom is right off the living room. I went inside. I closed the door, but I did not latch it. I left it open just a crack. A sliver of space. I did not turn on the fan. I needed to hear. I needed to see. I flushed the toilet immediately to cover the sound of me kneeling on the floor. I pressed my eye to the crack in the door. From my angle, I had a clear view of the living room. I could see the recliner, and I could see the bookshelf. For a moment, nothing happened. The house was silent. Then Keisha moved. She did not walk. She ran. She rushed across the room to the bookshelf. Her heels clicked on the floor. She did not look at the dust. She did not look at the family photos. She went straight to the second shelf from the top. She scanned the spines of the books. Her finger traced the titles. Treasure Island, The Great Gatsby, Roots. Her finger stopped. She pulled out a thick blue book. The spine was cracked and faded. Gold letters peeled away by time. Moby Dick. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. It was physical. It felt like a rib snapping. That book was given to me by Betty on our first anniversary. She wrote a note inside the cover. "To my captain, it was one of my most precious possessions, and my daughter was holding it like it was a safe deposit box." She opened the book violently. She shook it upside down. She expected papers to fall out. She expected insurance policies, deeds, the fortune I had invented on the phone. Nothing fell out, just a bookmark. She shook it again, harder this time. She ripped through the pages. I could hear the paper tearing. "Where is it?" she hissed. She threw the book on the floor. It landed with a heavy thud. She started pulling other books off the shelf. She was frantic now. She was throwing them aside. Books I had read to her when she was a child. Books that held pressed flowers and old ticket stubs. She was trashing them. She was looking for the money. That was all she wanted. She did not come for the soup. She did not come for me. She came to stop me from giving my money to sick children. She came to steal her inheritance before I was even dead. I watched her for 10 seconds. 10 seconds that ended my life as I knew it. I saw the greed in her face. It twisted her features. She looked ugly. She looked like a stranger. This was not the girl who used to cry when a bird died in the yard. This was a woman who would step over my body to get to a bank account. She picked up Moby Dick again. She fanned the pages one more time, desperate to find the hidden papers. "Damn it," she whispered. "That old fool, he must have moved them." Old fool. That was what she called me. Not daddy, not pops. Old fool. I stood up in the bathroom. My knees were shaking, but my hands were fists. I wanted to burst out. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to ask her why. Why wasn't I enough? Why wasn't my love enough? But I remembered Jamal's warning. Brad is desperate. If they know, you know they might get violent. Keisha was not alone in this. She was reporting to someone. She was the soldier, but Brad was the general. And if I confronted her now, she would just deny it. She would say she was cleaning. She would say she was looking for something to read. She would lie. And then they would come back harder. I had to play the long game. I had to be smarter than them. I flushed the toilet again. I watched through the crack. Keisha froze. Her head snapped toward the bathroom door. She moved fast. She picked up Moby Dick from the floor. She shoved it back onto the shelf. She kicked the other books under the sofa. She smoothed her dress. She ran back to the kitchen. By the time I opened the bathroom door and shuffled out, she was standing at the sink washing a dish that was already clean. I walked into the living room. I looked at the bookshelf. Moby Dick was upside down. The spine was broken. I looked at Keisha. She turned around and smiled. Feel better, Dad? She asked. I looked at her. I looked at the flesh and blood that I had created, and I saw nothing but a predator. Much better, I said. My voice was steady. It surprised me. I felt lighter. Good, she said. Well, I should get going. Brad is waiting for me. We have a dinner thing. She grabbed her purse. She did not hug me this time. She walked to the door. Don't forget your tablet, she said. Keep it charged. We might call you later. I will, I said. She left. The door closed. I walked over to the bookshelf. I picked up Moby Dick. The cover was bent. A page was torn. I held the book to my chest and I wept. I stood in the middle of my empty living room and I cried for the daughter who had died in that room 10 minutes ago. The Keisha I knew was gone. She had been replaced by this cold, hungry thing. I cried until I was empty. Then I wiped my face. I walked to the kitchen table. I picked up the tablet. The screen was dark, but I knew it was listening. I looked into the camera lens. I stared right into the black glass eye. You want a show? I whispered. I will give you a show. I went to the garage. I found my old toolbox. I took out a roll of duct tape and a heavy wrench. I was not just a father anymore. I was a mechanic, and I had a broken engine to dismantle. I called Jamal. She took the bait, I said. Did she show up? He asked. She tore the house apart, I said. She called me an old fool. There was a silence on the line. Jamal breathed out slowly. I am sorry, Grandpa. I am so sorry. Do not be, I said. Now we know. Now the gloves come off. What do you want to do? Jamal asked. I want to see how far they will go, I said. I want to see the bottom of this hole. We are going to need more bait, Jamal said. I looked at the house. I looked at the equity Brad talked about. I have the bait, I said. Now help me set the hook. I hung up the phone. The sun was going down. The shadows were getting long in the house. But I was not afraid of the dark anymore. I knew what was hiding in it. And tomorrow, I was going hunting. The morning after Keisha tore my living room apart, I woke up with a feeling I had not felt since my days on the assembly line. It was the feeling of heavy machinery moving above my head, the feeling that if I made one wrong step, I would be crushed. The sun was shining on my front porch, but inside the house it felt cold. I looked at the broken spine of Moby Dick on the shelf. It was not just a book anymore, it was a casualty of war. I packed the tablet in my bag again. I did not turn it on. I knew it was sleeping, but even in its sleep it was dangerous. I took the bus to Jamal's loft. The city looked different to me now. Every person looking at a phone seemed suspicious. Were they talking to their families or were they stealing someone's life? Jamal was waiting for me. He looked like he hadn't slept in 2 days. There were empty energy drink cans on his desk. His eyes were red. He didn't even say hello. He just pointed to the chair next to him. Sit down, Grandpa, he said. His voice was flat, like a mechanic telling you your engine block is cracked. I sat down. I put the bag on the floor. What did you find, son? I asked. Jamal spun his chair around. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and fear. I dug into Brad, he said. I went deep. I used some back doors I probably shouldn't have used. But I needed to know why. Why would a guy with a luxury car and a big house risk prison to spy on his father-in-law? He turned back to the screen. He pulled up a spreadsheet. It was full of red numbers. Brad is not rich, Grandpa. Brad is drowning. I looked at the numbers. They were too big to make sense. He got into crypto, Jamal said. About 2 years ago, he leveraged everything. He mortgaged his own house. He maxed out his cards. He borrowed money from friends. He thought he was going to be a billionaire. And then the crash happened, I said. I watched the news. I know about the digital money disappearing. It crashed hard, Jamal said. But Brad didn't stop. He tried to chase his losses. He borrowed more. But banks stopped lending to him. So he went to other people. Jamal pulled up a picture. It was a grainy surveillance photo of 2 men standing on a street corner. One was Brad. He looked terrified. The other man was wearing a leather jacket and looking at Brad like he was a meal. These are not bankers, Grandpa. These are loan sharks, Russian mob connection, the kind of people who don't send late notices. They send people with baseball bats. How much, I asked. $2 million, Jamal said. $2 million, and the interest is compounding every week. I sat back in the chair. $2 million. It was an impossible number. It was more money than I had made in my entire life. He needs liquidity fast, Jamal said. If he doesn't pay them a chunk by the end of the month, they are going to hurt him. And maybe they will hurt Mom too. That is why they need the house, I said. Yes, Jamal said. But it is not just the house, it is your credit. You have perfect credit, Grandpa. You have no debt. You are a ghost in the system, which makes you the perfect co-signer, or the perfect victim. He reached into my bag and pulled out the tablet. He held it up. You know how Keisha made you set up the banking app, he asked. She said it was for your convenience. I nodded. She downloaded the bank app. She said I could check my pension. Jamal plugged the tablet into his computer again. He brought up the code. That is not the bank app, he said. It looks like the bank app. It has the logo. It has the same colors. But it is a clone. It is a fake shell. He tapped a key. When you type your username and password into this, it doesn't go to the bank. It goes to a database on Brad's server. They are harvesting your credentials. They want to log in as you from their own computers. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. I had almost used it. I had almost typed in my password yesterday just to see if the pension check had cleared. But that is not the worst part, Jamal said. His voice dropped to a whisper. He pointed to the camera on the tablet. Remember the Face ID setup. Remember how she made you move your head in a circle, how she made you look up and down. Yes, I said. She said it was to unlock the screen. Jamal shook his head. Grandpa, the screen lock doesn't need that much data. She wasn't setting up the unlock feature. She was building a biometric profile. He pulled up a website on his screen. It was an online mortgage application form. To get a loan online these days, especially a big one like a home equity line of credit, you need to verify your identity, he explained. They don't just ask for passwords anymore. They ask for a biometric scan. You have to look at the camera and prove you are a living person. You have to turn your head. You have to blink. He looked at me. They use the tablet to capture that sequence, Grandpa. They have a digital mask of your face. They can use it to nod. They can use it to blink. They can use it to sign a mortgage document without you ever leaving your house. I stared at him. I tried to process it. They had stolen my face. They had stolen my identity. They were going to sell my house out from under me using my own face to sign the papers. Brad is going to take out a loan against your house, Jamal said. Probably for as much as he can get. 400,000 or 500,000. It won't pay off his whole debt, but it will buy him time. And when he defaults, the bank will come for your home. They will kick you out. And Brad will be gone. I stood up. I grabbed my coat. I have to go to the bank, I said. I have to stop this. I will come with you, Jamal said. No, I said. You stay here. Keep watching the data. Keep recording everything. I need you on the outside. I left the loft. I walked to the nearest branch of my bank. It was a big stone building on the corner. It looked solid, it looked safe, but now I knew that safety was an illusion. The walls couldn't protect me if the thief had the keys. I walked inside. The air conditioning was cold. I went to the teller window. The lady behind the glass was named Sarah. I knew her. She had been there for years. Hello, Mr. Carter, she said. She smiled. What can I do for you today? I need to check my account, Sarah, I said. I need to make sure no one has touched it. And I need to freeze everything. No loans, no withdrawals, nothing. Sarah looked confused. Freeze it, she asked. But Mr. Carter, everything is already set up. What do you mean, I asked. My hands gripped the counter. The authorization, she said. The digital power of attorney. It came through yesterday. My heart hammered against my ribs like a piston misfiring. What authorization, I asked. My voice was loud. People in the line turned to look. Sarah typed on her keyboard. She looked at her screen. Yesterday afternoon, she said, we received a verified request from your online account. You authorized your son-in-law, Bradley Miller, to act as your financial proxy. It was authenticated with your biometrics, Mr. Carter, your face scan, your fingerprint. Everything cleared. I felt the room spin. The floor felt soft like mud. I did not do that, I said. Sarah, I am standing right here. I did not do that. Sarah looked worried now. She lowered her voice. Mr. Carter, the system verified it. It is the highest level of security we have. If the biometrics match, it means you were holding the device. You signed the digital affidavit. She turned the screen slightly so I could see. There was a document. It had my name, it had my social security number, and at the bottom there was a digital seal that said biometrically verified. And the loan, she asked. Did you want to discuss the disbursement? Loan, I whispered. Yes, she said. The home equity line. Mr. Miller applied for it this morning. He used the express processing. The funds are scheduled to be released to his account in 48 hours. $450,000. I grabbed the counter to keep from falling. They had done it. They had actually done it. While I was playing my little game with the Moby Dick book, they were already gutting me. They had used the tablet to capture my soul, and they had sold it to the bank. "Stop it," I said. "Sarah, you have to stop it. It is fraud. He is stealing from me." Sarah looked at me with pity. It was the look you give to a confused old man who has forgotten his medication. "Mr. Carter," she said gently, "I can put a hold on it for review, but you authorized this. The digital trail is clear. If you want to claim fraud, you will have to file a police report. You will have to prove that your biometrics were stolen, and that is very hard to do. The system is designed to be foolproof." She thought I was senile. She thought I had forgotten. She thought I was just an old man having second thoughts about helping his family. "Do it," I said. "Put the hold. Do not let a penny go out." "I will try," she said. "But Mr. Miller has legal access now. If he calls and verifies the release, I cannot stop him indefinitely, not without a court order." I walked out of the bank. The sun was bright, but I felt cold. I was shaking. I walked to a bench and sat down. I watched the traffic go by. Brad had won. He had used my own face to rob me. He had turned me into a ghost in my own life. I took out my phone, my old flip phone. I dialed Jamal's number. "They did it," I said. "They authorized a loan, $450,000. It releases in 2 days." I heard Jamal typing in the background. "2 days," he said. "That is the window. We have 48 hours, Grandpa, to do what I asked, to call the police." "No," Jamal said. "If you call the police now, Brad will claim you authorized it and then forgot. He will use the senile old man defense. He has the digital proof. The police will say it is a civil matter. By the time you get a lawyer and a court date, the money will be gone. He will send it to the Cayman Islands or give it to the Russians, and you will lose the house." "So what do we do?" I asked. I felt helpless. I felt old. "We have to catch him," Jamal said. "Not just digitally. We need him to admit it. We need him to say it out loud. We need undeniable proof that he coerced you or that he used the tech to bypass your consent." "We need a confession," I said. "Yes," Jamal said. "And we need to get it before that money wire hits his account." I looked at the bank across the street. I looked at the people walking in and out, trusting their money was safe. I stood up. The rage was back. It burned away the fear. "He wants to play games with my life," I said. "He wants to use my face. Fine. I will give him a face he will never forget. I am coming over, Jamal," I said. "We are going to rewrite the script." I hung up the phone. I walked toward the bus stop. My step was heavy, but it was steady. Brad thought he was smart. He thought he was dealing with a helpless senior citizen. But he forgot one thing. I spent 40 years fixing engines. I know how to take things apart. And I was about to take his life apart piece by piece. Jamal kicked his desk. He was angry. He was young and he wanted things to be fair. I knew better. The world is not fair. The world is a machine, and sometimes the gears grind you up. "We are stuck, Grandpa," he said. "We have proof of the spyware, but we do not have proof of coercion. If we blow the whistle now, he walks away with the money and you lose the house. He will claim the spyware was for your protection. He will say he was monitoring you because you are declining." Declining. That word stuck in my throat. "So let us give him what he wants," I said. Jamal stopped pacing. He looked at me. "What do you mean?" "He needs me to be confused," I said. "He needs a narrative. He needs a reason to take full control before the bank starts asking questions. If I am just a generous father-in-law, he has to wait for me to sign things. But if I am a danger to myself, if I am losing my mind, then he can take over everything." "You want to play crazy?" Jamal asked. "I want to make them overconfident," I said. "I want them to think the pressure is breaking me. When a driver thinks he has won the race, he stops checking his mirrors. That is when you pass him." Jamal looked at the screens. He looked at the red line of code that represented the connection to Brad's house. "It is risky, Grandpa," he said. "If you act too crazy, they might just have you committed immediately." "That is the plan," I said. "They have a timeline. The money releases in 48 hours. They need me out of the way before then. If I act up now, they will rush. And when people rush, they make mistakes." I stood up. My knees popped. "Turn the audio back on," I said. "Cut the loop. I am going home. And I am going to give them a performance." I took the bus back to my neighborhood. The sun was setting. The shadows were stretching out across the lawns. It looked peaceful. But inside my house, the war was waiting. I walked inside. I put the tablet on the coffee table. I made sure it had a clear view of the room. I made sure the microphone could hear me. I took a deep breath. I thought about my wife, Betty. I thought about how she used to act in the church plays. She was good. She could make you cry. I hoped I had a little bit of her in me. I started to pace. I dragged my feet. I muttered to myself. I let my voice rise and fall. "Where is it?" I said loud enough for the microphone. "Where did I put the deed?" It was right here. I started opening drawers. I pulled out papers and threw them on the floor. Old bills, flyers, magazines. I made a mess. I wanted Brad to see the chaos. I wanted him to see an old man unraveling. I walked over to the window. I pulled the curtain shut fast. I peeked through the crack. "They are watching me," I whispered. "I know they are watching. The eyes in the wall." I walked back to the tablet. I stared at it. I let my jaw hang loose. I let my eyes go wide. "Who are you?" I asked the tablet. "Why is your light green? Are you the government?" I picked it up. I shook it. "Get out of my house," I yelled. Then I put it down. I sat in my recliner. I rocked back and forth. I waited 10 minutes. Enough time for Brad to get the alert. Enough time for him to pull up the feed. Then I picked up the landline. I dialed Keisha's number. She answered on the second ring. "Hello, Dad." "Keisha," I said. My voice was trembling. I made it sound wet and scared. "Keisha, there are people in the house." "What do you mean, Dad?" she asked. Her voice was sharp. "Alert." "Strangers," I said. "I can see their eyes. They are glowing green. They are sitting on the table. They are watching me eat." "Dad, calm down," she said. "There is no one there. You are home alone." "No," I whispered. I lowered my voice to a conspiratorial hiss. "They came in through the wires, Keisha. The man in the suit. He wants my papers. He wants the house." I hid the Moby Dick book, but he is looking for it. He is walking on the ceiling. "Dad, stop it," she said. "You are not making sense. Have you taken your pills?" "The pills are poison," I yelled. I threw them away. "I saw the doctor wink at you. I saw him. He is one of them." There was a silence on the line. I could hear her breathing. I could almost hear the gears turning in her head. She was not worried about me. She was calculating. "Dad, listen to me," she said slowly. "You are having an episode. You are tired. I want you to sit down. I want you to drink some water. Brad and I are going to figure this out." "Do not let Brad come," I said. "The bad man works for Brad. The bad man in the tablet." "Dad, stop," she snapped. "Just stay there. Do not go outside. Do not talk to the neighbors. Do you understand?" "They are going to take me," I whimpered. "The green eyes. They are blinking." I hung up the phone. I let it drop to the floor. I let it dangle by the cord. I sat there for an hour. I stared at the wall. I let the saliva gather in the corner of my mouth. I looked like a man who had lost his grip on reality, but inside my mind was clear as a bell. I was counting the minutes. My burner phone buzzed in my pocket. It was on vibrate. I slowly reached down and covered it with my hand so the camera would not see. I answered it without lifting it to my ear. I put it on speakerphone but kept the volume so low only I could hear it pressed against my leg. It was Jamal. "Did you get it?" I whispered. "I got it, Grandpa," he said. His voice was tinny through the fabric of my pants. "I am tapping their landline. They are talking right now." Listen, he played the audio. It was clear. It was crisp. It was the sound of my enemies plotting my demise. "It is happening," Brad said. His voice was excited. He sounded like a man who had just won a bet. "Did you hear him, Keisha? He is totally gone. Talking about green eyes and men on the ceiling. He is paranoid. He is delusional." "I don't know, Brad," Keisha said. She sounded shaken. He sounded really scared. "Maybe we should go over there. Maybe he needs help." "No," Brad barked. "We do not go over there. If we go over there, he might calm down. We need him like this. This is exactly what we needed." "What do you mean?" Keisha asked. "The loan releases in 2 days," Brad said. "But the bank called me an hour ago. They flagged the transaction. They want a secondary verbal confirmation from him because of the size of the withdrawal." My heart skipped a beat. The teller, Sarah, she had tried. She had put a flag on it. God bless her. "So what do we do?" Keisha asked. If they call him, he will tell them about the green eyes. He will blow it. Exactly, Brad said. That is why we can't let him talk to the bank. We need to move up the timeline. We need to initiate Plan B. Tonight, Plan B, Keisha whispered. Keisha. The nursing home. Yes, Brad said. We have the audio now, Keisha. We have him ranting about conspiracies. We have him sounding violent. I can edit that clip. I can send it to the emergency intake director at Shady Pines. I know a guy there. If we show them that he is a danger to himself, they can authorize a 72-hour hold, an involuntary commitment. But tonight, Keisha asked, "It seems so fast." It has to be tonight, Brad said. Once he is in the facility, he is legally incapacitated. His power of attorney defaults to the next of kin. That is you, and you authorize me. We can override the bank's flag. We can sign the final papers while he is sedated in a padded room. There was a pause. A long silence where my daughter decided my fate. Okay, Keisha said softly. Okay. Do it. Call your guy. Get the van. Good girl, Brad said. Get his bag ready. We are going to go get him in the morning. We will tell him we are taking him to breakfast. We will drive him straight to the facility. By noon tomorrow he will be medicated and we will be funded. The recording ended. I sat in my chair. The house was dark now. The only light came from the street lamp outside and the faint green blink of the tablet on the table. They were coming for me. Not with guns or knives, but with a van and a syringe. They were going to erase me. They were going to lock me away and drug me until I really did forget who I was. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. It was not fear. It was clarity. They thought I was broken. They thought I was a leaking gasket waiting to blow. I stood up. I walked to the table. I picked up the tablet. I looked into the camera one last time. "See you at breakfast," I whispered. I put the tablet in my bag. I went to the kitchen. I made a pot of coffee. I was not going to sleep tonight. I had work to do. I called Jamal back. "They are coming in the morning," I said. "I heard it," Grandpa Jamal said. "We have the confession. We have the conspiracy. We have everything." "Not yet," I said. "We have voices on a tape. A good lawyer could argue it was hypothetical. They could argue they were just concerned family members making tough decisions." "So what do we do?" Jamal asked. "We let them try," I said. "We let them come. We let them think they have won." I looked around my house, my castle. They wanted to take it. They wanted to take my freedom. "Brad is bringing a van," I said. "He is bringing papers. He is going to try to physically take me." Grandpa Jamal said, warning in his voice, "Do not fight him." "I am not going to fight him," I said. "I am going to welcome him." I went to the closet. I pulled out my best suit, the charcoal gray one I wore to Betty's funeral. I polished my shoes. I shaved. If they were going to come for me, I was going to look like a king, not a victim. I sat in the living room and waited for the sun to come up. The tablet sat on the table, blinking its little green eye, recording the silence. It did not know that the silence was a trap. It did not know that the old man sitting in the dark was holding a match, and they were walking straight into a room full of gasoline. The house sat on a hill overlooking the lake. It was a monstrosity of white stucco and glass pillars that looked like it belonged in a magazine for people who have more money than taste. Keisha had driven me there in her silver SUV. The ride was quiet, too quiet. She kept gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. She told me Brad wanted to treat me to a special dinner. She said it was to make up for missing quality time on my birthday. I did not say anything. I just watched the trees go by and thought about the recording device taped to the underside of my shirt. When we pulled into the driveway, I saw Brad standing on the porch. He was wearing a polo shirt and khaki pants. He looked like he was about to go golfing, but his posture was tight. He looked like a coiled spring. He waved. It was a stiff, mechanical wave. "Welcome to the manor, Reggie," he called out. His voice echoed off the stone facade. I got out of the car. I leaned heavily on my cane. I made sure my steps were slow and uncertain. I was playing the part of the confused old man, the man whose mind was slipping like a loose transmission belt. "Nice place, Brad," I said. I looked up at the towering columns. "It looks expensive." Brad laughed. It was that dry, barking laugh again. "It is all about leverage, Reggie. You have to spend money to make money. Come on in." I opened a bottle of the good stuff. I walked inside. The foyer was enormous. The floors were marble. There was a chandelier that looked like it weighed as much as a Buick. But as we walked through the hallway, I noticed something. The house echoed. It sounded hollow. There were no pictures on the walls, no personal photos, no knickknacks. The furniture looked brand new, like it had been delivered that morning. It still had that chemical smell of factory plastic. I looked at a bookshelf in the study as we passed. The books were fake, just cardboard spines glued together to look like a library. This was not a home. It was a stage set. It was a rental, a short-term lease to impress clients or to fool a father-in-law into thinking his daughter married a king. We sat down in the dining room. The table was long enough to seat 20 people, but there were only 3 place settings huddled at one end. Brad sat at the head. Keisha sat on his right. I sat on his left. The table was set with heavy silverware and crystal glasses, but the food was takeout. I could smell it. Expensive Italian takeout plated to look homemade. The lasagna was cold in the middle. Brad picked up a bottle of red wine. He filled my glass to the brim. "Drink up, Reggie," he said. "It is good for the heart, keeps the blood flowing." I took a sip. It was bitter. I hate wine. I wanted a beer, but I nodded and smiled. "Thank you, Brad," I said. "You are too kind to an old man." He watched me drink. His eyes were focused on my throat as if he were counting the swallows. He wanted me loose. He wanted me pliable. "So Reggie," Brad said, cutting into his lasagna, "Keisha tells me you were talking about making some changes to your estate planning." I put my fork down. My hand trembled slightly. I let the tremor show. "Oh yes," I said. My voice was raspy. "I have been thinking about the children, the sick children at the hospital. They need help." Brad stopped chewing. He swallowed hard. "That is very noble, Reggie," he said. "But you know charity begins at home. You have to make sure your own family is secure first. That is what a patriarch does." He signaled to Keisha with his eyes. She stood up and refilled my glass even though I had only taken 2 sips. "Dad," Keisha said. Her voice was tight. "Brad found this amazing place. It is a senior community. Up north, it is like a resort. They have a golf course. They have a pool. They have doctors on site 24/7. I looked at her. I looked for the little girl who used to sit on my lap and read comics. She was gone. "I do not play golf, baby," I said. "I like my porch. I like my garden." Brad leaned forward. The jovial host mask slipped for a second. "Reggie, be reasonable. You are getting older. You are getting forgetful. Keisha told me about the other night. You seeing things, hearing voices. That is dangerous. You cannot live alone anymore. It is negligent of us to let you." I looked down at my plate. I let my shoulders slump. I do feel tired," I whispered. "Sometimes I get confused. The days run together." Brad smiled. It was the smile of a shark that smells blood in the water. "Exactly," he said. "And we want to help. We want to take that burden off your shoulders. You shouldn't have to worry about bills or maintenance or hidden assets." He reached under the table. He pulled out a thick leather folder. He placed it on the tablecloth. It made a heavy sound. "I took the liberty of drawing up some paperwork," he said. "Just preliminary stuff, an application for the resort, and some standard forms to help us manage the transition." He opened the folder. He slid it across the marble toward me. He uncapped a heavy gold pen and placed it on top of the papers. "Just sign right there, Reggie. At the bottom. We will fill in the rest. We will take care of the details." I looked at the papers. The top sheet said application in big, bold letters. It had pictures of smiling old people playing chess. But I have spent 40 years reading technical manuals. I know how to look for the fine print. I adjusted my glasses. I leaned in close. I used my finger to trace the lines. Underneath the application was a stack of other documents. I saw the words quitclaim deed. I saw the words durable power of attorney. I saw a medical directive that gave Brad full authority to make decisions about my health, including involuntary commitment. These were not application forms. This was a surrender. This was me signing away my life, my house, and my freedom. I looked at Brad. He was sweating. Beads of perspiration were gathering on his forehead. His leg was bouncing under the table, shaking the silverware. He was desperate. The loan sharks were probably calling him every hour. He needed this signature tonight. I reached for the pen. My hand was shaking. I made it shake harder. I don't know," I stammered. "I should read it first. Betty always said, never sign what you don't read." Brad's patience snapped. "Reggie, just sign the damn paper," he said. His voice was sharp. It is for your own good. Do you want to end up in a state home? Do you want to rot in some hallway? We are offering you luxury. We are saving you. I picked up the pen. I held it over the paper. I watched Brad's eyes. They were wide, hungry. I moved the pen toward the signature line. Brad leaned in closer. He was almost panting. Then I let my hand spasm. It was a violent jerk, a twitch of the wrist. My hand knocked into the full wine glass. The crystal goblet tipped over. The dark red liquid splashed out in a wave. It hit the papers. It soaked into the heavy bond paper. It turned the white pages purple. It looked like blood spreading across a bandage. The wine ran across the documents. It blurred the ink. It dripped off the edge of the table onto Brad's beige khaki pants. "Oops," I whispered. "Oh my. Look what I did. I am so clumsy." For 3 seconds there was absolute silence. Then Brad exploded. He did not just get mad. He erupted. He slammed both fists onto the table so hard the plates jumped. "You stupid old son of a bitch," he roared. He stood up. His chair flew backward and hit the wall. His face was purple. Veins bulged in his neck. He looked like a demon. "Look what you did. You ruined it. You ruined everything." He grabbed the soggy papers. He tried to shake the wine off, but they were soaked. They were tearing in his hands. "Brad, stop," Keisha yelled. She stood up. She looked terrified. "Shut up, Keisha," Brad screamed at her. He turned on me. He leaned over the table. His spittle hit my face. "You useless, senile waste of space. Do you know how much trouble I went through to get these drafted? Do you know what time it is? We don't have time for your shaking hands." He was not a real estate agent anymore. He was not a son-in-law. He was a cornered animal. He was a man who owed $2 million to killers and saw his only ticket out dissolving in red wine. He grabbed the wine bottle by the neck. For a second, I thought he was going to hit me with it. His eyes were wild. There was murder in them. I saw it. I saw the potential for violence that Jamal had warned me about. I shrank back in my chair. I dropped the cane. I raised my hands. "Please, Brad," I whimpered. "I didn't mean to. I'll clean it up. Don't touch it," he screamed. "Don't you touch anything." He threw the wet papers onto the floor. He kicked the table leg. "We have to print them again," he hissed. He was pacing now, running his hands through his hair. "We have to go to the office. The printer here is out of ink." He looked at his watch. "It is 9 o'clock. The notary is waiting. We are losing the window." He looked at me with pure hatred. "Get him in the car, Keisha," he barked. "Brad, maybe we should wait," Keisha said. Her voice was trembling. "Look at him. He is scared. He is shaking. I don't care if he's having a heart attack," Brad yelled. He pointed a finger at me. "You are going to sign those papers tonight, Reggie. One way or another. I am done asking nicely. I am done with the wine and the dinner. You are going to sign the house over, and you are going to get in the van tomorrow, and you are going to shut your mouth." He grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair and threw it at me. "Put it on," he ordered. I looked at him. I let my eyes fill with tears, not real tears. Acting tears. "Brad, you are scaring me," I said. "Why are you yelling?" "Because you are too stupid to die," he shouted. He stormed out of the room toward the garage. Keisha looked at me. Her face was pale. She looked at the wine on the floor. She looked at the terror in my face. "I am sorry, Dad," she whispered. She reached out to help me up. Just do what he says, please. He is under a lot of pressure. If you just sign, it will all be over." I stood up. I leaned on her arm. I felt her trembling. "I understand, baby," I said softly. "I understand everything now." And I did. I understood that my daughter was weak. I understood that she had chosen a monster over her father. And I understood that the time for games was over. I walked toward the door. I could hear Brad revving the engine of the SUV in the driveway. He was racing the motor, vroom, vroom, like he was preparing for a getaway. I touched the recorder taped to my chest. I felt the hard plastic. I had it. I had the outburst. I had the threat. I had the coercion. But I needed one more thing. I needed to see them break completely. I needed to see them dig the hole so deep they could never climb out. I walked out into the night air. Brad was waiting behind the wheel. His face was lit by the dashboard lights. He looked like a skull. "Get in," he yelled through the open window. I got in the back seat. I sat in the dark. Drive, I thought. Drive fast, Brad, because you are driving straight into a wall. 2 in the morning is a special kind of quiet. It is the hour when the city finally stops breathing, and the only sound left is the settling of the house. I was lying in my bed staring at the ceiling fan. It was not spinning. I had turned it off so I could hear better. I was wearing my pajamas, but underneath the sheets I was wearing my street clothes. I had not slept in 3 days. Not really. You do not sleep when there is a fox circling the hen house. You wait. You listen. You keep your powder dry. My phone buzzed against my hip. It was under the blanket. One short vibration. That was the signal. Jamal had installed the cameras 2 days ago while I distracted Keisha in the kitchen. They were tiny things. Little black eyes hidden in the smoke detector, on the bookshelf behind the replacement copy of Moby Dick. In the hallway light fixture. They saw in the dark. They saw everything. I did not look at the phone. I did not need to. I heard the sound. It was the front door, the deadbolt sliding back. It was a heavy sound. Thunk. I had changed that lock 10 years ago. It was a good lock, a solid brass Schlager. You could not pick it with a paperclip. You needed a key. And only 3 people had a key. Me, Keisha, and the spare I kept under the loose brick on the porch. The door creaked open. The hinges needed oil. I had meant to fix them last week, but I left them dry on purpose. I wanted to hear. Footsteps, heavy, trying to be light but failing. The floorboards in the hallway groaned. I knew exactly which board it was. The one right outside the coat closet. I reached down beside the bed. My hand closed around the handle of my Louisville Slugger. It was ash wood, 34 inches. I had kept it since I played in the factory league in '78. It was taped at the handle. It felt like an extension of my arm. I pulled it under the covers. I held it across my chest. I slowed my breathing. In through the nose. Out through the nose. Deep and slow. Like I was asleep. The footsteps moved into the living room. I cracked my eyes open just a sliver. My bedroom door was open 6 inches. I could see the shadow moving across the sliver of light from the street lamp outside. It was a man, tall, broad shoulders, but he moved nervously, jerky. It was Brad. I knew it was him before I even saw his face. I knew him by the smell of his cologne, that expensive musky stuff he bathed in to cover the smell of desperation. I tightened my grip on the bat. My muscles tensed. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to get up, to charge out there, to catch him, to break his knees for violating my sanctuary. But I stayed still. I remembered Jamal's voice. "We need proof, Grandpa. We need him to dig the hole." So I let him dig. I watched through the crack in the door. Brad was not stealing. He walked past the TV. He walked past my grandmother's silver candlesticks. He was not here for things he could pawn. He stopped at the coffee table. He looked around. Then he bent down. He grabbed the heavy oak table and slid it. Scrap. He moved it 3 feet to the left, right into the main walking path from the hallway to the kitchen. Then he went to the rug, the Persian rug Betty loved. He kicked up the corner. He folded it over so it created a tripping hazard. He walked to the lamp on the side table. He unscrewed the bulb just enough so it would not turn on. I watched him and my blood turned to ice. I realized what he was doing. He was not robbing me. He was setting a stage. He was creating a trap. He wanted me to wake up in the dark. He wanted me to walk to the kitchen. He wanted me to trip, to fall, to break a hip. Or maybe he just wanted me to think I was losing my mind, to think I had left the house in disarray. It is called gaslighting. Jamal taught me that word. It means making someone doubt their own reality. It is a cruel thing. It is a weapon used by cowards. Brad stood in the middle of the living room. He looked at his handiwork. He nodded. Then he walked toward the kitchen. I lost sight of him, but I could hear him. He opened the drawer, the junk drawer where I keep the flashlight and the spare batteries. He rummaged around. Then I heard a sound that made my heart stop. Hiss. It was soft, like a snake, but I knew that sound. I had worked with engines my whole life. I know the sound of pressure escaping. He was at the stove. He was turning on the gas. He did not click the igniter. He just turned the knob. Just a little, just enough to fill the room slowly. The hiss stopped. He had left it open. Panic flared in my chest. This was not just gaslighting. This was murder. Or attempted murder. Or maybe he just wanted me to smell it. Maybe he wanted the neighbors to smell it. Look at poor Reggie. He left the gas on again. He is a danger to himself. He could have blown up the block. We have to put him away. It was evil. It was pure distilled evil. I had to force myself to stay in the bed. I had to count backward from 10. The camera in the kitchen, hidden in the clock, was recording it. It saw his hand on the knob. It saw his face. It saw the intent. If I got up now and beat him with the bat, it would be self-defense, but then the gas would be turned off. He would say he smelled it and came in to check. He would spin it. I had to let the scene finish. Brad walked out of the kitchen. He was coming toward the bedroom. This was the hardest part. The lion was coming into the den. I closed my eyes almost all the way. I left only a tiny slit, just enough to see motion. He pushed the door open. He stood in the doorway. He was a silhouette against the hallway light. He was breathing hard. I could hear the whistle in his nose. He crept into the room. The floorboards screamed under his weight. He did not care. He thought I was deaf. He thought I was a senile old fool who slept like the dead. He walked to my dresser. He picked up my keys. He put them in his pocket. Then he walked to the nightstand, right next to my head. I could smell him. Stale coffee and sweat and expensive wool. He was so close I could have swung the bat and taken his head off without lifting my back from the mattress. My hand was sweating on the wood handle. Do it. Do it now. No. Wait. He picked up my pill organizer, the plastic box with the days of the week on it. I take blood pressure medicine and a mild thinner. Nothing serious, but he did not know that. Or maybe he did. He popped the lids open. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He dumped the pills into his hand. He put the empty organizer back on the table. He put the pills in his pocket. Then he picked up the tablet. My heart hammered. If he turned it on, if he saw the recording icon, if he checked the background apps. He looked at it. He tapped the screen. It lit up. The fake loop Jamal programmed was running. It showed a static home screen. It showed nothing. Brad smirked. I saw it in the glow of the screen. A twisted, arrogant smile. Sleep tight, Reggie, he whispered. He put the tablet down, face down. He stood over me for a moment. He looked down at my sleeping form. You are making this too hard, he whispered. It did not have to be this way. You just had to sign. He reached out. His hand hovered over my face. For a second, I thought he was going to use the pillow. I thought he was going to smother me. My muscles coiled. I was ready to spring. I would drive the bat into his ribs. I would shatter them. But he pulled his hand back. Soon enough, he said. He turned and walked out. He walked back through the living room. He stepped over the rug he had folded. He avoided the table he had moved. He went to the front door. He opened it. He closed it. He locked it from the outside using the key he had stolen or copied. Click. Silence returned to the house. But it was not silent. There was a sound, a low hiss coming from the kitchen. I threw the covers off. I sprang out of bed. I did not need the cane. I moved with the speed of a man half my age. I ran to the kitchen. The smell of rotten eggs, the mercaptan they put in natural gas, hit me. It was faint, but it was there. I grabbed the knob on the stove. I twisted it off. The hissing stopped. I opened the window above the sink. I waved a towel to clear the air. I checked the camera in the clock. The little red light was steady. It had seen everything. I went to the living room. I stepped over the rug. I moved the table back. I screwed the light bulb back in. I was shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline, from the sheer violation of it. He had come into my home, my sanctuary. He had threatened my life to steal my assets. I sat on the couch. I held the baseball bat between my knees. I looked at the spot where he had stood. You made a mistake, Brad, I said to the empty room. You touched the stove. He thought he was setting the stage for my commitment hearing. He thought he was creating evidence of my decline. But what he had actually done was commit a felony on camera. Breaking and entering. Endangerment. Theft of medication. I looked at the tablet. I picked it up. Jamal, I said. I waited. I am here, Grandpa Jamal's voice came from the speaker. It sounded shaky. I saw it. I saw everything. Are you okay? I am fine, I said. Did you get it? I got it, Jamal said. It is backed up to 3 clouds. It is clear as day, Grandpa. We have him. We have him dead to rights. Not yet, I said. What do you mean, not yet? Jamal asked. He almost killed you. He left the gas on. We call the police now. No, I said. My voice was hard, cold as steel. If we call them now, they pick him up for breaking and entering, maybe reckless endangerment. He gets a lawyer. He gets bail. He says he was checking on me and smelled gas and got confused. He spins it. Grandpa Jamal said, he is dangerous. I know, I said. But he is not done. He thinks he set a trap. He thinks tomorrow morning he is going to come here with the van and find a confused, gas-addled old man who cannot find his pills. He thinks he is going to win. So we let him come. We let him come with the van. We let him come with Keisha. We let them think they have won. And when they are standing in this room gloating, when they think I am finished, that is when we drop the hammer. I want you to be ready, Jamal. I want you to have the stream ready, the stream Jamal asked. Tomorrow, I said, when they get here, I want you to broadcast it, not to the police, to everyone, to Facebook, to YouTube, to the neighbors. I want witnesses, Jamal. I want the whole world to see what they do when they think no one is watching. Okay, Grandpa, Jamal said. I will set it up, but please be careful. I hung up. I sat in the dark. I held my bat. I did not sleep. I watched the sun come up. I waited for the van. They wanted to take me to a home. They wanted to say I was crazy. Well, I was going to show them crazy. I was going to show them the kind of crazy that happens when you push a man too far. The sun hit the window. It was showtime. The morning sun did not feel warm that day. It felt like a spotlight on a stage where a tragedy was about to be performed. I sat in my recliner, dressed in an old cardigan and mismatched socks. I had put them on purpose. I needed to look like a man who had lost the ability to care for himself. I needed to look like a man who was fading away. The white van pulled up to the curb at 9 o'clock sharp. It was not a medical transport, it was a rental cargo van. No windows in the back, just a metal box on wheels. Brad was driving. I could see his knuckles gripping the wheel from 50 feet away. Keisha was in the passenger seat staring straight ahead. A third man climbed out of the back. He was wearing a white lab coat that was too big for him. It was unbuttoned, revealing a stained blue tie and a shirt that had not seen an iron in weeks. He carried a battered black medical bag. I recognized him immediately. It wasn't from any clinic or hospital. I had seen him at the local dive bar where Brad liked to play pool. His name was Gary. He used to be a chiropractor before he lost his license for insurance fraud. Now he was Brad's drinking buddy, and apparently today he was my doctor. They walked up the path. I did not get up. I let my mouth hang open slightly. I stared at a spot on the wall as if I were watching a movie that wasn't there. The door opened. Brad didn't knock. He just walked in like he owned the place. "Good morning, Reggie," he said. His voice was loud, too loud, like he was talking to a deaf dog. "We brought a friend to see you. This is Dr. Thorne. He is a specialist." Gary. Dr. Thorne stepped forward. He smelled of peppermint mouthwash, trying to cover up the sour scent of stale whiskey. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked nervous. He kept glancing at Brad for approval. "Hello, Reginald," Gary said. He opened his bag on my coffee table. His hands were shaking. "I hear you have been having some trouble, seeing things, hearing voices." I looked at him slowly. I blinked. "Are you the man from the ceiling?" I whispered. Brad smirked. He pulled out his phone and started recording. "See, doctor. He is disoriented. He doesn't know where he is." Gary nodded vigorously. He pulled out a stethoscope and pressed it against my chest through my sweater. He didn't even put the earpieces in his ears correctly. It was a farce. A theater production designed to create a paper trail for a judge. "His heart is racing," Gary lied. "He is extremely agitated. This is a classic sign of acute dementia onset. He is a danger to himself." Keisha was standing by the door. She wouldn't look at me. She was hugging herself, rocking slightly on her heels. She looked pale, sick, good. I wanted her to feel it. "I need to check his reflexes," Gary said. He tapped my knee with a little rubber hammer. I didn't react. No response. Neurological degradation. He stood up and turned to Brad. "We need to sedate him for transport. If he panics in the van, he could hurt himself. I recommend a B12 complex with a mild relaxant, just to help him sleep." I knew what was coming. Jamal had found the emails. Brad had ordered liquid ketamine from a veterinary supply site on the dark web. They weren't going to give me vitamins. They were going to give me a horse tranquilizer. They wanted me unconscious so they could drag me into the facility and sign the admission papers while I was drooling on myself. "Do it," Brad said. "Give him the shot." Gary reached into his bag. He pulled out a small glass vial with a purple cap and a syringe. He set them on the table next to a half-empty glass of water I had left there. This was the moment, the only moment I would get. I started to cough. A hacking dry cough that shook my whole body. I bent over, clutching my chest. "Water!" I wheezed. "I need water!" Keisha moved instinctively. "He needs water, Brad." She ran to the kitchen. Brad turned to yell at her. "Hurry up! We don't have all day!" Gary looked at Brad, distracted by the shouting. In that split second of chaos, I moved. My hands are 75 years old, but they have spent a lifetime working with small moving parts inside engines. I possess a dexterity that people underestimate. I had a vial in my pocket. It was identical to the one on the table. Same size, same purple cap. But mine was filled with saline solution. Salt water. I reached out with my left hand as if I were flailing for the water glass. My hand swept over the vial on the table. I palmed it. In the same motion, I replaced it with the saline vial. It was a magician's trick, a mechanic's sleight of hand. I slid the real drug into my sleeve. Keisha came back with a fresh glass of water. I drank it greedily, spilling some on my chin. Okay, that is enough," Brad snapped. "Doctor, give him the medicine." Gary picked up the saline vial. He didn't notice a thing. He stuck the needle in. He drew up the clear liquid. He flicked the syringe to clear the bubbles. "This is just a vitamin booster, Reginald," he said. "It will make you feel strong." He grabbed my arm. He didn't even swab it with alcohol. He jammed the needle in. I felt the pinch. I felt the cool liquid entering my muscle. Salt water. Harmless. But I had to sell it. I counted to 5 in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I let my eyelids flutter. I let my head roll back. I let out a long sigh. "I feel funny," I mumbled. "The room is spinning." "It works fast," Gary said, sounding surprised. "Must be his age. Metabolism is shot." I slumped forward. I let my chin hit my chest. I let my arms dangle. I went completely limp. I focused on my breathing, making it shallow and rhythmic. "He is out," Gary said. He packed his bag quickly. "That should keep him under for at least 6 hours. By the time he wakes up, you will have him processed." "Good work," Brad said. "Here." I heard the rustle of cash, an envelope changing hands. "I'm gone," Gary said. "Delete my number, Brad. Seriously." The front door opened and closed. Gary was gone. Now it was just the family. The air in the room changed. It got heavier. I lay there, eyes closed, muscles loose, waiting. I needed them to speak. I needed the confession. For a moment, there was only silence. Then I heard a sound that broke my heart. Keisha was crying. It wasn't a soft cry. It was a jagged, gasping sob. "I can't do this, Brad," she wept. "Look at him. He looks so small. He is my daddy. We just drugged him. We are kidnapping him." "Shut up, Keisha," Brad hissed. His voice was low and venomous. "Keep your voice down." "No, I won't shut up," she said, her voice rising. "This is wrong. It is evil. We can't put him in a home. We can't sell his house while he is sleeping. It is criminal." "Do you want to live?" Brad asked. The question hung in the air. "Do you want to stay alive, Keisha?" "What are you talking about?" She sniffled. "The Russians," Brad said. "They called me this morning. They are not waiting until the end of the month. They changed the terms." I heard footsteps. Brad was pacing. "If I don't give them $500,000 by tomorrow night, they are coming to the house," Brad said. His voice was trembling now. It wasn't anger anymore, it was terror. "They sent me a picture, Keisha, a picture of a pair of garden shears. They said they are going to take my right hand, my signing hand, and after they are done with me, they are going to pay a visit to you and Olivia." I lay there frozen. $500,000. That was exactly what the house was worth. My life's work, my sanctuary. He needed it to buy his hand back. He needed it to save his skin from the monsters he had invited into his life. "Oh, God," Keisha whispered. "Oh, God, Brad, why did you do this?" "I tried to fix it," Brad yelled. "I tried to double our money on the crypto exchange. I thought I could pay them back and we would be rich. But it crashed. It all crashed." He grabbed her. I could hear the fabric rustle. "We have no choice," he said. "Do you understand there is no other way out? We take him to the facility. We use the power of attorney to sign the sale papers today. The buyer is a cash investor. He closes in 24 hours. We get the money. We pay the Russians. We live." "And Dad?" Keisha asked. "What happens to Dad?" "He stays in the home," Brad said, cold as ice. He is old, Keisha. He won't know the difference. We will visit him on Sundays. It is better than us being dead." "I hate you," Keisha whispered. "I hate you for making me do this." "Hate me all you want," Brad said. "Just help me carry him." I felt hands on me. Brad grabbed me under the arms. His grip was rough. He smelled of sweat and fear. Keisha grabbed my ankles. Her hands were shaking. I could feel her tears dripping onto my socks. They lifted me. I was heavy, dead weight. I let my head loll back. I kept my eyes shut, but my ears were wide open. "He is heavy," Brad grunted. "Be careful with his head. We don't need bruises." The intake nurse will ask questions. They carried me out of the house I had bought 40 years ago. They carried me down the steps I had painted last summer. They carried me past the rose bushes Betty had loved. They threw me into the back of the van. It was a metal floor, cold and hard. I hit my shoulder, but I didn't flinch. I didn't make a sound. "Get in," Brad ordered. The doors slammed shut. Darkness, absolute pitch-black darkness. The smell of gasoline and old dust. I lay there in the dark as the engine roared to life. I felt the vibration of the van as it pulled away from the curb. They thought I was unconscious. They thought I was a package being delivered to the trash. But in the pocket of my cardigan, my hand closed around the vial of ketamine I had stolen. I was awake. I was alert. And I knew exactly where we were going. They were taking me to hell. But they didn't know that I was the devil they should be afraid of. I lay in the dark and I smiled, because now I had it all. The motive, the threat, the crime. The ride was going to be long, but the landing was going to be harder for them than for me. The van stopped. The engine ticked as it cooled down. The silence in the back was heavy like a wet wool blanket. I lay on the metal floor, my cheek pressed against the cold ridges. I smelled oil and old dust. My body ached from the ride. They had driven fast, taking corners too hard, tossing me around like a sack of potatoes. I kept my eyes closed, but my mind was racing. I was mapping the situation. I was calculating the variables. I heard the driver's door open, then the passenger door. Voices outside, low and tense. "We are here," Brad hissed. "Get the wheelchair." "I don't see anyone," Keisha whispered. Her voice was thin, trembling. "Is this the right place?" "It looks abandoned." "It is a private entrance," Brad snapped. "Around the back. Less cameras. Less questions. Just get the chair." I heard the back doors unlatch. The mechanism clanked. Light flooded in. It was gray and harsh. I squinted just enough to see silhouettes. They were outlined against a brick wall. This was the facility. The place where they were going to erase me. Brad grabbed my ankles. Keisha grabbed my shoulders. They dragged me out. My feet hit the asphalt. I let out a low moan. Not of pain, but of confusion. I had to sell the awakening. I had to make them believe the drugs were wearing off just enough for a moment of clarity, a moment of weakness. They dumped me into a wheelchair. My head lolled to the side. I let a line of drool escape the corner of my mouth. I looked at Keisha. I tried to make my eyes look glassy, unfocused. "Mama," I mumbled. "Mama, is that you?" Keisha flinched. She looked away. She couldn't look me in the eye. That was good. Guilt makes people sloppy. Guilt makes people listen. "Let's go," Brad said. He grabbed the handles of the wheelchair. He started pushing me toward a metal door. I had seconds, maybe less. Once I was through that door, once I was in the system, I lost control. I needed to stop the momentum. I needed to throw a wrench in the gears right now. "Wait," I whispered. I tried to grab Keisha's hand. My grip was weak, shaking. "Keisha, wait." "Ignore him," Brad said, pushing faster. "He is hallucinating. It is the drugs." "No," I said. My voice was raspy, desperate. "The box. Keisha, the box." Brad stopped. He didn't stop because he cared. He stopped because I said the word box. Predators are always listening for keywords. Money, box, safe, gold. "What box?" old man Brad asked. He leaned over me. His breath smelled like coffee and fear. I looked past him. I focused on Keisha. I needed to hook her first. "Your mother," I whispered. "Betty, we hid it. For you. For the baby." Keisha stepped closer. She touched my arm. "What did you hide, Dad?" I swallowed hard. I made my breathing hitch. "The gold," I said. The air in the alleyway changed instantly. It went from tense to electric. Brad froze. Keisha froze. Even the wind seemed to stop blowing. "Gold," Brad repeated. His voice dropped an octave. It was greedy, hungry. What gold? I closed my eyes. I acted like I was drifting back under, like the effort of speaking was too much. The bars, I mumbled. 10 of them, under the floor, in the shed. We didn't trust the banks, not after the crash. I let my head drop to my chest. I felt Brad's hands on my shoulders shaking me, not gently. "Wake up," he hissed. "Reggie, wake up." What shed? What floor? I opened my eyes halfway. I looked at him with confusion. The shed? I said, "The old shed. In the back. Betty wanted to be buried with it, but we couldn't. It is still there, wrapped in oilcloth, under the loose boards." I coughed, a dry, racking cough. I can't remember which board I whispered. "My memory, it is going dark, Keisha. Help me. The map." It was in my head. 10 bars, Brad whispered. He stood up straight. He looked at Keisha. He was doing the math. I could see the numbers scrolling behind his eyes. Gold was high right now. 2,000 an ounce, a standard bar. My God, that is over $500,000, maybe more depending on the weight. It was enough. It was enough to pay the Russians. It was enough to save his hand. It was enough to save his life. He looked at the metal door of the facility. Then he looked at the van. "We can't leave him here," he said. "What?" Keisha asked. She looked confused. "But Brad, we have the appointment. The intake nurse is waiting." "Forget the nurse," Brad snapped. His eyes were wide, manic. "Did you hear him, Keisha? Gold. Physical gold. Untraceable. No banks, no paper trail. If we put him in here now, and the state takes inventory of the house, they might find it. Or worse, the new owners find it when they tear down the shed. We lose it all." He looked at me. He looked at me like I was a treasure map made of flesh and bone. "He needs to show us," he said. "He needs to point out the spot." "But he is drugged," Keisha said. "He barely knows where he is." "That is why we have to go now," Brad said, before he forgets again, before his brain turns to mush completely. He spun the wheelchair around. He pushed me back toward the van. "Get the door," he yelled at Keisha. But Keisha stammered. "What about your flight? You said you were leaving tonight if the loan didn't clear. You said you had to run." "I am not running from a fortune," Brad shouted. He hoisted me out of the chair. He threw me back onto the metal floor of the van. "Cancel the flight. We are going back to the house." He slammed the doors. The darkness returned. I lay on the floor and I smiled, a grim, hard smile. He had taken the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. The greed had overridden the fear. The greed had overridden the logic. He was not thinking about why I would mention it now. He was not thinking about why I would hide gold in a shed. He was only thinking about the shine, about the salvation. The van roared to life. Brad peeled out of the alley. I rolled across the floor, hitting the wall. I didn't care. Pain was just information. And the information told me we were heading back to my turf. The drive back was fast, reckless. Brad was driving like a man possessed. I could hear him shouting at Keisha in the front seat. "Look up the price of gold," he yelled. "Look it up right now. $2,030 an ounce," Keisha replied, her voice trembling. 10 bars, Brad shouted. "If they are kilo bars, Keisha, that is $600,000. That clears the debt, that clears everything, and we still sell the house. We walk away with $1 million. Do you understand? We are free. Free." He thought he was driving toward freedom. He didn't know he was driving toward a cage. I reached into my pocket. I touched the phone. I tapped the button 3 times. It was a signal to Jamal. A simple code we had agreed on. "I am coming home. Get ready." We arrived at my house as the sun was starting to set. The shadows were long and purple. The house looked dark and empty from the street. But I knew better. I knew that inside the shed Jamal had set the stage. Brad parked the van in the driveway right up against the gate to the backyard. He didn't want the neighbors to see. He jumped out. He pulled me from the back. "Can you walk?" he barked. I groaned. I dragged my feet. "Help him, Keisha," he ordered. They dragged me through the side gate into the backyard. The grass was tall. I hadn't mowed it in 2 weeks. The old shed stood in the corner under the oak tree. It was a wooden structure leaning slightly to the left with peeling red paint. It was where I kept my tools, my lawnmower, and where I spent my evenings fixing things that other people threw away. It was my sanctuary, and tonight it would be my courtroom. The door to the shed had a padlock. Brad fumbled with my keys. His hands were shaking so bad he dropped them twice. "Open it," he screamed. "Open the damn door!" He finally found the small brass key. He twisted it. The lock popped open. He kicked the door wide. The smell of sawdust and oil hit me. It was the smell of home. Inside it was dim. Light filtered in through the dirty windows. Dust motes danced in the air. My workbench was along the back wall, covered in wrenches and sockets. "Where is it?" Brad asked. He shoved me forward. I stumbled and caught myself on the workbench. "Where are the boards, Reggie? Show me." I looked around. I pretended to be confused. I spun in a slow circle. I don't know," I whispered. "It looks different." "Don't play with me," Brad growled. He grabbed a crowbar from the wall. He looked dangerous, unhinged. The veneer of the successful real estate agent was gone completely. He was just a thug in a dirty polo shirt holding a weapon. "Show me the spot, old man, or I will start tearing this floor up plank by plank, and I will start with your fingers." I pointed a shaking finger toward the center of the room. There was an old rug there covered in oil stains. "Under the rug," I said, "there is a loose board, the third one from the left." Brad threw the rug aside. Dust flew up. He dropped to his knees. He jammed the crowbar into the gap between the floorboards. Wood splintered. He heaved. The nail screeched as it pulled free. He ripped the board up. He threw it aside. He looked into the hole. It was dark. There was just dirt and cobwebs. "I don't see anything," he yelled. He reached his hand down into the dirt. He dug around frantically like a dog. "Deeper," I whispered. "You have to dig deeper. It is wrapped in oilcloth." Brad grabbed a shovel from the corner. He started digging. He was throwing dirt over his shoulder. He was panting, sweating, cursing. Keisha stood by the door. She was watching him with wide eyes. She looked terrified of him. "Brad, stop," she said. "Maybe he is lying. Maybe there is no gold." "He is not lying," Brad shouted without stopping. "He is too out of it to lie. It is here. I know it is here." He dug faster. Clang. The shovel hit something hard. He froze. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. He looked up at Keisha with a grin that was pure madness. Metal. He dropped to his knees again. He clawed at the dirt with his bare hands. He pulled out a heavy object wrapped in a greasy gray cloth. It was the size of a brick. He held it up. It was heavy, dense. He laughed. A high manic sound. "We found it, Keisha," he yelled. "We found it." He scrambled to unwrap the cloth. His fingers fumbled with the knots. I stepped back. I moved toward the workbench. I leaned against it, not for support, but to be near the switch. Brad tore the cloth away. He stared. It wasn't gold. It was a lead weight. An old wheel balancing weight I had melted down into a block years ago to use as an anvil for small parts. I had painted it yellow just for this moment, but the paint was chipping, and underneath it was dull gray lead. Brad stared at it. He scratched the yellow paint with his fingernail. Gray metal showed through. He looked up at me. His face went blank. Then it turned red. Then it turned a color I had never seen before. "This isn't gold," he whispered. "No," I said. My voice was different now. It wasn't the raspy whisper of a dying man. It was the voice of the foreman, the voice of the man who ran the floor at Ford for 20 years. "It is lead, Brad. Just lead." He stood up slowly. He gripped the heavy lead brick in one hand and the crowbar in the other. "You lied," he said. His voice was shaking with rage. "You played me." I stood up straight. I brushed the dust off my cardigan. I looked him right in the eye. "I did," I said. "And you fell for it, because you are greedy, and because you are stupid," Brad roared. It was an animal sound. He raised the crowbar. He took a step toward me. "I am going to kill you," he screamed. "I am going to beat you to death and bury you in this hole." "Do it," I said calmly. I reached behind me. My hand found the toggle switch under the workbench. Jamal had wired it up last night. "But before you do," I said, "smile." I flipped the switch. Click. A hum filled the shed, and then light exploded. A massive projector screen rolled down from the ceiling behind me. It had been hidden in the rafters. The projector mounted high on a beam blazed to life. The back wall of the shed lit up with a 10-foot image. It was a video feed. It showed Brad in my bedroom at 2 a.m. It showed him turning on the gas. It showed him stealing my pills. Then the image split. Now there were 4 boxes. One showed the current video of Brad holding the crowbar. Another showed Keisha in the kitchen pouring the fake soup. Another showed the bank documents with the forged signatures. And the last box was a chat window, a live chat window. Comments were scrolling by so fast they were a blur. Call the police. Look at that psycho. He has a weapon. We are watching you, Brad. Brad froze. He looked at the screen. He looked at the camera lens I pointed to, mounted on the tool rack. The little red light was glowing steady and bright. What is this? He whispered. He lowered the crowbar. That, I said, is 5,000 witnesses. I looked at Keisha. She was staring at the screen, her hands covering her mouth. We are live, I said. On Facebook. On YouTube. Jamal pushed the link to the neighborhood watch group. He pushed it to your real estate clients. He pushed it to everyone. I took a step forward. Say hello, Brad, I said. Tell them about the Russians. Tell them about the $2 million. Tell them about how you tried to gas your father-in-law. Brad looked at the camera. Then he looked at me. The rage drained out of him, leaving only terror. Turn it off, he begged. Reggie, turn it off. I can't, I said. It is in the cloud now. It is forever. The sound of sirens cut through the evening air, distant at first but getting louder, coming closer. You hear that? I asked. That is the encore. Brad dropped the crowbar. It clanged on the floor. He dropped the lead brick. He looked at the hole he had dug. It looked a lot like a grave, but it wasn't for me. It was for him. The shed had always been my church. It was where I went to escape the noise of the world. It smelled of sawdust and old grease and the specific metallic tang of tools that have been used for 40 years. But on that Tuesday, the shed did not feel like a sanctuary. It felt like a bunker. It felt like the staging ground for a war I never wanted to fight. Jamal was there with me. He had arrived before dawn, moving like a ghost through the backyard, carrying crates of equipment. He did not look like my grandson today. He looked like a soldier preparing a defensive line. He was running cables along the rafters, stapling them down so they would be invisible in the shadows. Grandpa, hand me the pliers, he said from the top of the ladder. I handed them up. My hand was steady, but my heart was not. I watched him mount the projector high up in the darkest corner of the ceiling. It was a black box, barely visible against the oil-stained wood. He covered it with an old burlap sack, leaving just the lens exposed. From the ground you could not see it unless you knew exactly where to look. We are almost done, Jamal said, climbing down. He wiped his hands on his jeans. The screen is rigged. The remote trigger is under the bench, and the audio feed is live. He walked over to my workbench. He had cleared away my socket wrenches and my jars of screws to make room for a laptop and a small mixing board. It looked alien in this space. High technology sitting on scarred wood that had seen 1,000 hammer strikes. Test it, I said. Jamal tapped a key. A low hum filled the room. The motorized screen, hidden behind a false beam above the back wall, rolled down silently. It was a white canvas. Then light exploded from the projector. The image was crisp. It showed the interior of the shed. It was a live feed from the camera hidden in the tool rack. I saw myself standing there looking old and tired in my work clothes. It works, Jamal said. He tapped another key. The screen split. Now it showed the feed from my bedroom, the feed from the kitchen, the feed from the front porch. It is a panopticon, Jamal said. We see everything, we hear everything. And tomorrow so will the world. He looked at me. He saw the look on my face. You okay, Grandpa? He asked. I am fine, son. I lied. Just thinking. Go home, Jamal. Get some sleep. You need to be sharp tomorrow. You are running the control room from your place. I need you safe. Jamal hesitated. I do not like leaving you alone. Not tonight. I will be fine, I said. I have my bat. I have the locks. And I have the truth. Just go. He hugged me. It was a fierce hug. Then he slipped out the back door and disappeared into the twilight. I was alone. I locked the shed door from the inside. I sat down on my stool. The laptop screen cast a blue glow over the room. It hummed like a hive of angry bees. I opened the top drawer of the workbench. It was usually where I kept the sandpaper and the glue. But in the back under a false bottom there was a tin box, an old cookie tin. I pulled it out. The metal was cold. I pried off the lid. Inside there was a photograph. It was black and white, faded at the edges. It was Betty and me. We were standing in front of this house the day we bought it in 1974. We were young. My hair was black. Her smile was like the sun. She was holding a bundle in her arms. That bundle was Keisha. I took the photo out. I ran my thumb over Betty's face. I talked to her sometimes, when the house was too quiet, when the loneliness got too heavy. Betty, I whispered, look what has happened. Look what they made me do. I looked at the baby in the photo. Keisha. She was so small, she was so innocent. I remembered her first steps in this backyard. I remembered teaching her how to change a tire in this driveway. I remembered her crying when she scraped her knee and how I would scoop her up and tell her that her daddy would fix it. I fixed everything for her. That was my job. That was my purpose. But I could not fix this. I felt a tear run down my cheek. It was hot and salty. Then another. Then I was sobbing. My shoulders shook. I let the grief wash over me. I cried for the little girl who used to bring me lemonade when I was mowing the lawn. I cried for the woman who had looked me in the eye and lied about loving me. I was not crying because I was scared of Brad. I was not crying because I was scared of dying. I was crying because tomorrow I was going to send my only child to prison. I was going to be the one to slam the cell door shut. I had to do it. I knew that. She had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. She had chosen greed over blood. But knowing it did not make the pain stop. It felt like I was cutting off my own arm. I wiped my face with a rag. I put the photo back in the tin. "I am sorry, Betty," I whispered. "I tried. I really tried." Suddenly the laptop chirped. A red alert bar flashed on the screen. Audio spike detected. It was the tap on Brad's phone. Jamal had set it to alert me if they made a call. I put on the headphones. The noise of the shed disappeared, replaced by the hiss of a digital connection. I heard a phone ringing. Then a click. "Hello, Brad," Keisha's voice said. She sounded tired, worn out. "Listen to me," Brad said. His voice was different tonight. It was not manic anymore. It was cold, flat. It was the voice of a man who had decided to cross the Rubicon. "I am listening," Keisha said. "I got the tickets," Brad said. "One way. To Belize. We leave tomorrow night, 8 p.m. "Tomorrow night?" Keisha asked. "But what about the house closing?" "Forget the closing," Brad snapped. "The buyer is stalling. We cannot wait for the wire. We need the cash. We need the gold." I leaned closer to the laptop. My heart hammered against my ribs. "We are going to the house at dawn," Brad said. "We get the old man. We take him to the shed. We make him show us the spot." "And then what?" Keisha asked. Her voice trembled. "What do we do with him, Brad? We cannot just leave him there." Brad paused. The silence on the line was heavy. It was thick with malice. "We are not leaving him, Keisha," Brad said. "What do you mean?" she asked. "The vial," Brad said. "The one the doctor gave us." "You still have it, right?" "Yes," Keisha said. "It is in my purse." "Bring it," Brad said. "Bring all of it," Keisha whispered. "That is a lethal dose." "The doctor said—" "I know what the doctor said," Brad interrupted. "That is the point." My hand gripped the edge of the workbench. My knuckles turned white. "We get the gold," Brad continued, his voice devoid of emotion. "We load it in the van. Then you give him the shot. All of it. Tell him it is his insulin. Tell him it is vitamins. I don't care. Just get it into him." "Brad." No, Keisha sobbed. "We can't. That is murder." "It is mercy," Brad said. "Think about it, Keisha. He is old. His mind is gone. He is miserable. We are doing him a favor, and we are doing ourselves a favor." He took a breath. "I do not want him waking up, Keisha. I do not want him talking to the police. I do not want him remembering. If he wakes up, we are dead. The Russians will find us, or the cops will find us. He has to go to sleep. Permanently." There was a long silence. I held my breath. I waited for my daughter to scream. I waited for her to hang up. I waited for her to call the police herself. "Okay," Keisha whispered. The word was so soft I almost missed it, but it hit me harder than a bullet. "Okay," she said again, stronger this time. "Just make it quick. I do not want him to suffer." "He won't feel a thing," Brad said. "It will be like falling asleep in his chair. Now pack your bags, get the passports, and bring the shovel. We have digging to do." The line went dead. I took off the headphones. I laid them gently on the desk. The tears were gone. My eyes were dry. My heart had turned into a block of ice in my chest. I stood up. I walked to the center of the shed. So that was it. There was no going back. There was no misunderstanding. They were not just thieves. They were executioners. And my daughter, my Keisha. She had agreed. She had said okay. I looked at the spot on the floor where the loose boards were, the spot where they thought their salvation was buried. I went to the corner. I picked up a heavy lead brick. It was an old wheel weight I had melted down years ago to use as an anvil. It was ugly, gray, heavy as sin. I carried it to the workbench. I opened a can of yellow spray paint. I shook the can. The little metal ball inside rattled. Clack, clack, clack. I sprayed the lead brick. I coated it in bright, shiny gold paint. It looked fake. It looked cheap, but in the dark of a hole to a desperate man, it would look like hope. I let it dry. Then I took my crowbar. I pried up the floorboards. The nails screeched. I dug a shallow hole in the dirt underneath. I wrapped the painted brick in an old greasy oilcloth. I put it in the hole. I nailed the boards back down, but I left them loose. Just loose enough to be found. I stood up and looked at my trap. It was ready. I checked the cameras one last time. I checked the projector. I checked the connection to Jamal's server. Everything was green. Everything was live. I turned off the lights in the shed. I walked out into the cool night air. I looked at my house. It was dark, empty. I did not go inside. I could not sleep in that bed tonight. I could not sleep under the roof where I had raised a murderer. I went back into the shed. I sat on my stool. I picked up my baseball bat. I would wait here, in the dark. Let them come. Let them bring their van and their shovel and their poison. They thought they were coming to bury an old man. They were wrong. They were coming to their own funeral. The sun had not yet cleared the horizon when the white van returned. The sky was that bruised purple color that comes right before dawn. I was sitting on my stool in the darkest corner of the shed, hidden behind a stack of old tires and a canvas tarp. I was wearing my charcoal gray suit. The shirt was starched stiff. The tie was silk, a deep blue pattern that Betty had picked out for our 30th anniversary. I had polished my shoes until they shone like black mirrors. I was dressed for a funeral, but I was the only one who knew it. I watched them on the monitor of the laptop, which was dimmed low. The external camera showed the van skidding into the driveway. Brad did not park carefully this time. He drove over the edge of the lawn, leaving deep ruts in the grass I had tended for 40 years. He killed the engine but left the headlights on. 2 beams of yellow light cut through the morning mist and hit the shed door. They got out. Brad was wearing the same clothes he had on the night before, but now they were rumpled and stained with sweat. His eyes were wild. He looked like a man who had been running a marathon in his sleep. He was carrying a pickaxe. Not a shovel. A pickaxe. It was a tool for breaking concrete, not for finding treasure. It was a weapon. Keisha stumbled out of the passenger side. She was wearing expensive running shoes and a designer tracksuit, but her hair was a mess. She was carrying a flashlight and a canvas duffel bag. The bag was for the gold. She looked terrified. She kept looking back at the street as if she expected the police or the Russians to roll up behind them. "Hurry up," Brad hissed. His voice carried clearly through the morning air. "We have 20 minutes before the neighbors start waking up." He marched toward the shed. He did not use the key this time. He did not even try the handle. He swung the pickaxe. Thwack! The metal tip bit into the wood of the door frame. He wrenched it back, splintering the old cedar. He kicked the door right next to the lock. The wood gave way with a sickening crack. The door swung open, banging against the interior wall. They rushed inside. I sat perfectly still. The shadows in my corner were deep. The morning light coming through the door was blinding them to the darkness in the back. They did not see me. They only saw the floor. "Turn on the light," Brad barked. Keisha fumbled with the flashlight. The beam danced crazily around the room, illuminating the dust motes swirling in the air. It swept over the workbench. It swept over the tool rack. It missed me by inches. "Shine it on the floor," Brad yelled. "On the rug." He ran to the center of the room. He kicked the oil-stained rug aside. It bunched up against the leg of the workbench. "There," he said. He pointed to the loose boards I had prepared. "You see it. It is loose." He dropped to his knees. He did not use the crowbar. He used his fingers. He jammed his fingertips into the gap between the planks. He grunted. He heaved. His face turned red. The nail screeched as it pulled free. He ripped the first board up and threw it behind him. It hit the wall with a loud clatter. "Dig!" he screamed at Keisha. "Don't just stand there. Dig!" He started clawing at the dirt underneath. He was like a dog, a rabid animal digging for a bone. Dust flew into the air. He was panting loud, ragged breaths that sounded like sobbing. Keisha dropped to her knees beside him. She started digging with her hands, too. She was crying silently. Her expensive manicure was ruined in seconds. Dirt got under her nails. Dirt got on her tracksuit. "I don't feel anything," Brad yelled. He plunged his hands deeper into the hole. "Where is it?" he said under the boards. He ripped up another plank, and another. He was destroying the floor. He was tearing the shed apart. Keisha stopped digging. She sat back on her heels, holding her dirty hands up. Maybe we are in the wrong spot, she whispered. Maybe he meant the other side. Brad turned on her. His face was streaked with dirt and sweat. His eyes were bulging. He grabbed her by the shoulder and shook her. You said he was lucid, he shouted. You said he told you the spot. He did, Keisha cried. He said under the rug. This is the only rug. Brad stood up. He grabbed the pickaxe again. He swung it down into the floorboards a few feet away. Wood shattered. It has to be here, he screamed. He swung again and again. He was destroying the foundation. He was destroying the history of this place. He is lying, Brad, Keisha wailed. He lied to us. There is no gold. We are wasting time. We have to go. We have to leave. Brad stopped swinging. He stood there, chest heaving, leaning on the handle of the pickaxe. He looked down at the hole. It was empty, just dark earth and old worms. He dropped the pickaxe. He turned to Keisha. The look on his face was pure hatred. You stupid cow, he whispered. His voice was more frightening than his shouting. You let him play us. You let a senile old man play us. It wasn't me, Keisha sobbed. We are dead, Brad said. Do you understand? We are dead. The Russians will be here by noon. I don't have the money. I don't have the house. I have nothing. He looked around the shed. His eyes were frantic, searching for something to break, something to hurt. He lied, he roared. He lied to me. He grabbed a jar of nails from the workbench and threw it against the wall. Glass shattered. Nails rained down like steel rain. Where is he? Brad screamed. Where is the old man? I am going to kill him. I am going to go back to the house, and I am going to strangle him with my bare hands. Keisha was curled in a ball on the floor, sobbing into her hands. It was time. I stood up. My knees popped, but I did not wince. I stepped out from behind the stack of tires. I stepped out of the shadows and into the shaft of light cutting through the dust. I looked immaculate. My suit was crisp. My shoes were shining. I looked like the man who had raised a family and built a life with his own 2 hands. In my left hand I held the tablet. The screen was glowing. It was recording. In my right hand I held the brick. The heavy lead brick painted in bright mocking gold. I cleared my throat. Are you looking for this? I asked. My voice was calm, steady. It was the voice of a judge delivering a sentence. Brad spun around. He almost fell over. He looked at me like I was a ghost. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Keisha looked up. Her eyes went wide. She scrambled backward on the floor, crab walking away from me until her back hit the wall. Dad, she whispered. I did not look at her. I looked at Brad. I looked at the man who had tried to gas me, the man who had tried to drug me, the man who had tried to erase me. I tossed the brick. I did not throw it hard. I just tossed it underhand. It sailed through the air, spinning slowly. The gold paint caught the light. It landed at Brad's feet with a heavy, dull thud. It did not ring like gold. It sounded like dead weight. Brad looked down at it. He looked at the chipping paint where the gray lead showed through. It is fake, he whispered. Yes, I said. It is fake. Just like you, Brad. Just like your suits. Just like your life. Just like your love for my daughter. Brad looked up at me. His face twisted. Confusion turned into realization, and realization turned into a fury so hot I could feel it radiating off him. You set us up, he said. His voice was shaking. You knew. I tapped the screen of the tablet. I knew everything I said. I knew about the spyware. I knew about the bank. I knew about the doctor. And I knew about the hole you were digging for yourselves. I took a step forward. The floorboards creaked under my polished shoes. You wanted my gold, I said. You wanted my legacy. Well, there it is. Lead. Toxic, heavy lead. Just like the weight you have been carrying around in your soul. Brad's hands curled into fists. He looked at the pickaxe lying on the floor. He looked at me. I was an old man. He was younger, stronger, and desperate. I saw the calculation in his eyes. He was thinking he could still fix this. He was thinking that if he got rid of me now, he could still run. You think you are smart, old man? He snarled. He took a step toward the pickaxe. You think you beat me? I did not move. I did not flinch. I beat you the moment you walked into this shed, I said. Brad lunged for the pickaxe. He grabbed the handle. He raised it. He turned toward me with murder in his eyes. But I just lifted the tablet higher. Smile, Brad, I said. I hit the button on the screen. The projector behind me flared to life. The back wall of the shed disappeared under a 10-foot image. It was not a recording. It was a live feed. It was the view from the camera in the corner. It showed Brad standing there holding a pickaxe raised to strike an unarmed 75-year-old man in a suit. But next to that image was the chat window. Thousands of names, thousands of comments scrolling so fast they were a blur of text. Brad froze. He looked at the wall. He saw himself. He saw the weapon in his hands. And then he heard the sound. It started low, a rumble in the distance, but it grew fast. Sirens. Not one, not two, a dozen. They were coming from every direction. They were screaming down the street. They were tearing through the morning quiet. I looked at Brad. I saw the weapon waver in his hand. "You can swing that if you want," I said, "but you are going to have to swing it in front of 5,000 witnesses, and the police are about 30 seconds away." Brad lowered the pickaxe. It clattered to the floor. He looked at the screen. He looked at the door. He looked at Keisha. Keisha was staring at the screen on the wall. She saw the comments. "Monster. Run, Grandpa. Cops are coming." She covered her face with her dirty hands and began to scream. It was a high, thin sound of total defeat. I stood there in my suit holding my tablet and I watched them crumble. The gold was fake. But the justice was real. And it was arriving with lights and sirens. "You lying old bastard," Brad screamed. The sound tore through the dusty air of the shed. He lunged at me. He moved with the desperate speed of a man who sees the cliff edge rushing toward him. He dropped the fake gold brick, and his hands came up reaching for my throat. He wanted to squeeze the life out of me. He wanted to silence the witness who had turned his victory into ash. I did not move. I did not step back. I stood my ground in my Sunday suit. I looked at him as he came for me. His face was twisted into a mask of pure hate. His eyes were bulging. Veins stood out on his neck like cords. He was 3 feet away when I lifted the tablet. I tapped the screen. One single tap. "Now, Jamal," I said. The shed exploded with light. It was not sunlight. It was the harsh white glare of the projector mounted in the rafters. The beam cut through the swirling dust motes like a laser. It hit the back wall of the shed, illuminating the 10-foot screen that had been hidden in the darkness. Brad stopped. He skid to a halt, his shoes sliding on the dirt floor. He threw his hands up to shield his eyes from the sudden brightness. "What the hell?" he yelled. "Look," I said. My voice was calm. "Look at the wall, Brad. Look at your legacy." The screen flickered and then the image stabilized. It was high definition, crystal clear. It was a video grid, 4 different angles playing simultaneously. In the top left quadrant there was a night vision recording. It was black and white, but the details were sharp. It showed my bedroom door opening. It showed a figure creeping in. It showed Brad. The timestamp in the corner read 2:14 a.m. We watched in silence as the on-screen Brad walked to the nightstand. We watched him pick up my pill organizer. We watched him dump the medicine into his hand and pocket it. But that was not the worst part. The video cut to the kitchen camera. It showed Brad standing at the stove. It showed his hand reaching out. It showed him turning the gas knob, not enough to light it, just enough to let the poison hiss out into the house. Brad stared at the wall. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked at his own hand on the screen, the hand that had tried to turn my home into a gas chamber. "That is a lie," he whispered. "That is fake. Deep fake. AI. "It is not AI, Brad," I said. "It is $4,000 worth of surveillance equipment, and it is stored on 3 different servers." The screen changed. The video faded, and an audio waveform appeared. It was a jagged green line moving across a black background. "Listen," I said. The speakers hidden in the corners of the shed crackled to life. The volume was turned up high. It filled the small wooden room. "We get the gold," Brad's voice boomed from the speakers. It was the call from last night. "We load it in the van. Then you give him the shot. All of it." Keisha let out a sound that was half sob, half scream. She was huddled on the floor, her hands over her ears, but she could not block it out. The sound was everywhere. "Tell him it is his insulin," the recording continued. "Tell him it is vitamins. I don't care. Just get it into him." I looked at Keisha. She was rocking back and forth. Her eyes were squeezed shut. She was listening to her husband plan her father's execution. And then she heard her own voice. "Okay, just make it quick. I do not want him to suffer." Keisha collapsed. She did not just fall, she crumbled. It was as if her skeleton had dissolved. She lay on the dirt floor sobbing into the dust. "No," she wailed. "No, no, no." Brad looked at her. He looked at the screen. He looked at me. The color drained from his face, leaving him gray and pasty. "You recorded us," he said. His voice was hollow. "I recorded everything I said, every call, every threat, every theft." I tapped the tablet again. The screen changed one more time. Now it showed documents, bank statements, high-resolution screenshots of Brad's laptop. It showed the unauthorized transfers. It showed the fake power of attorney application. It showed the emails to the forger. It showed the loan application with my stolen biometric signature. "This is the end of the road, Brad," I said. I stepped closer to him. The dust swirled around my polished shoes. "There is no loan coming. I froze the account 3 days ago. There is no gold. It is just lead and paint, and there is no escape. The police have these files. The FBI has these files." Brad looked at me. His eyes were darting around the room like a trapped rat looking for a hole. He looked at the door, but he knew he could not outrun the sirens that were getting louder in the distance. He looked at Keisha broken on the floor. He looked at his hands. He started to shake. It started in his hands and spread to his shoulders, a violent tremor. "You ruined me," he whispered. You ruined everything. You ruined yourself," I said. "You gambled with money you did not have, and when you lost, you tried to pay the debt with my life." Brad let out a sound that was not human. It was a guttural roar of frustration and terror. He reached behind his back, under his untucked shirt, into the waistband of his pants. I knew what was coming. I had seen the bulge when he bent down to dig. I had hoped he would not use it. I had hoped he was just a coward who liked to play tough, but fear makes cowards do terrible things. Brad pulled the gun. It was a snub-nosed .38 revolver. Cheap, black steel. It looked small in his big hand, but the barrel looked like a cannon. He pointed it at my face. His hand was shaking so bad the gun was dancing in the air. "Shut up," he screamed. "Shut up, turn it off, turn it all off." Keisha looked up. She saw the gun. She screamed. "Brad, what are you doing?" "Shut up, Keisha," he yelled without looking at her. He took a step toward me. The barrel was 3 feet from my forehead. "You think you are smart, Reggie. You think you can trap me. I am not going to jail. Not for you, not for anyone." He cocked the hammer. The click was loud in the small shed, louder than the sirens, louder than Keisha's sobbing. "Sign the papers," he said. His voice was high and tight. Panic was squeezing his throat. "What papers, Brad?" I asked. I did not raise my hands. I did not step back. I looked past the gun into his eyes. "The deed," he shouted. "The sale. We can still do it. You are going to sign a handwritten deed right now. We are going to date it for yesterday. And then we are going to get in the van, and we are going to leave." "You are delusional," I said. "The police are 2 minutes away. You can hear them." "I don't care," he screamed. "I have a hostage now. I have leverage." He waved the gun toward Keisha, then back to me. "Get up, Keisha," he barked. "Get the van ready." Keisha did not move. She stared at the gun. "He is going to kill us," she whispered. She looked at me. "Dad, he is going to kill us." "He might," I said calmly, "but he is not going to get away with it." I tapped the tablet one last time. The screen on the wall changed. The grid of evidence disappeared. It was replaced by a single live feed. It was the camera facing us right now. It showed Brad holding the gun. It showed me standing in front of him. But on the side of the screen, a chat window opened. It was scrolling so fast it was a blur of text. Thousands of comments. "He has a gun." "Oh my God, calls the cops." "Don't do it, Brad. We can see you." "Look at the wall, Brad," I said. He flicked his eyes to the screen. He saw himself. He saw the gun in his hand. He saw the live chat. "What is that?" he whispered. "That is the world watching you," I said. "We are live, Brad. We have been live since you walked through that door. 5,000 people are watching you point a gun at your father-in-law." Brad stared at the screen. He saw the viewer count. 5,432 watching now. "The Russians are watching," I said. "The police are watching. Your mother is probably watching." Brad's face went white. The gun wavered. "If you pull that trigger," I continued, my voice hard as iron, "you are not just a thief. You are a murderer on live television. There is no spinning that. There is no lawyer who can fix that. You go to the electric chair, Brad. Or you spend the rest of your life in a cage smaller than this shed." Brad looked at the screen. He looked at the gun. He looked at me. He was breaking. I could see it. The reality of his situation was crashing down on him. He was not a mastermind. He was not a tough guy. He was a failure who had dug a hole straight to hell. The sirens were deafening now. Tires screeched on the street outside. Doors slammed. Police, a voice boomed from the front yard. "Come out with your hands up." Brad started to cry. Tears ran down his face, mixing with the sweat and dirt. "I can't," he sobbed. "The Russians, if I go to jail, they will find me. They will kill me inside." "Then you better ask the police for protective custody," I said, "because that is your only chance. Drop the gun, Brad. It is over." He looked at me one last time. There was no hate left in his eyes, just despair. "I am sorry," he whispered. For a second, I thought he was going to turn the gun on himself. I tensed, ready to jump. But he didn't. His hand dropped to his side. The gun slipped from his fingers. It hit the wooden floor with a heavy thud. Keisha scrambled forward. She kicked the gun away. It slid under the workbench. Brad fell to his knees. He put his head in his hands and howled. It was a sound of total ruin. I watched him. I felt nothing. No pity, no anger, just a cold hollowness where my family used to be. I walked over to the door. I kicked it open wider. In here, I shouted to the police. I turned back to the camera on the wall. I looked into the lens. I smoothed my tie. I buttoned my jacket. "I am Reginald Carter," I said to the 5,000 strangers watching, "and I am done being a victim." Then I sat down on my stool and waited for the handcuffs to click. "You think you can destroy the evidence?" Brad screamed, his eyes darting to the laptop sitting on the workbench. He raised the gun again, but this time he was not pointing it at me. He was pointing it at the computer. He was desperate. He was thinking like the man who believes that if you break the mirror, you destroy the reflection. He thought that if he put a bullet in the hard drive, the video would vanish. He thought that if he smashed the projector, the world would go dark again. He swung the revolver toward the electronics. I could see his finger tightening on the trigger. He was going to shoot the equipment. He was going to try to erase the last 10 minutes of his life. "Don't bother," I said. My voice was low, but it cut through the panic in the room like a cold wind. "Save your bullets, Brad. It won't make a difference." He froze. He looked at me with wild confusion. Sweat was dripping from his chin onto his ruined shirt. "What are you talking about?" he hissed. "If I kill the drive, I kill the recording. No recording, no proof. It is just your word against mine." I shook my head slowly. I pitied him. Not because he was caught, but because he was so arrogant he never bothered to understand the tools he tried to use against me. He thought technology was magic. He did not understand that technology is just infrastructure. And I know infrastructure. "You forgot one thing," I said. I lifted the tablet. I held it up so he could see the sleek black casing. The device he had forced me to accept. The device he had mocked me for not knowing how to use. "You forgot what you bought me, Brad." He stared at the tablet. He did not understand. "Keisha," I said, looking at my daughter who was shivering against the wall. "When you set this up, you bragged about the specs. You told me it was top of the line. You told me it worked anywhere, even at the park, even on the bus." Keisha looked up. Her eyes went wide with realization. She knew. "It has cellular," she whispered. Brad looked at her. "What?" I took a step forward. I tapped the screen. "This tablet has a 5G connection, Brad," I said calmly. "It does not need Wi-Fi. It does not need a router. It does not need that laptop on the bench. It has its own heartbeat, and right now that heart is pumping data faster than you can think." I turned the screen toward him. I wanted him to see it. I wanted him to see the little icon in the corner. 5 bars. Full signal. "We are not recording to a hard drive," I said. "We are streaming. We are broadcasting directly to the cloud. Every word you say, every move you make, it is flying through the air at the speed of light. You can shoot the computer, you can burn down this shed, you can smash this tablet into 1,000,000 pieces, it does not matter. The video is already on servers in California, it is in Virginia, it is in Ireland. You cannot kill a ghost, Brad, and you cannot kill the truth once it is out." Brad lowered the gun slightly. The reality of the digital world was crashing down on his analog brain. He realized he was fighting a hydra. Cut off one head and the data just reroutes to another. But there was more. I needed to break him completely. I needed him to understand that his audience was not just a server farm, it was flesh and blood. "Jamal," I said to the tablet, "show him the numbers." The image on the wall shifted. The chat window expanded. It took up half the wall now. "Look at the count," I said, pointing to the red numbers in the corner of the projection. 5,432. Brad squinted. Who are they? He asked. His voice was trembling. That is your jury, I said. 5,000 people, Brad. 5,000 strangers are sitting in their living rooms right now. They are watching on their phones on the bus. They are watching at their desks at work. They are watching you hold a gun to the head of a 75-year-old man who never did anything but love his family. I watched his eyes scan the chat. The comments were scrolling so fast they were a blur of white text on a black background. Put the gun down. We can see his face. I screenshotted it. He is done. The police are almost there. The whole country is looking at you, Brad, I said. My voice was hard now, unforgiving. I was the foreman on the assembly line again, telling a worker that his negligence had shut down the plant. You are famous, but not the way you wanted. You wanted to be a real estate mogul. You wanted to be a big shot. Well, now you are the face of elder abuse. You are the face of greed. Brad looked at the camera lens. He looked terrified. He tried to hide his face with his free hand, but he realized it was too late. The camera had seen everything. It had seen the pickaxe. It had seen the gun. It had seen his soul. He raised the gun toward me again. His hand was shaking violently. He was cornered and cornered. Animals bite. I can still do it, he sobbed. I can still end this. If I am going down, I am taking you with me. I looked him dead in the eye. I did not blink. I did not flinch. You could, I said. You could pull that trigger. I took a breath. This was the gamble. This was the psychological checkmate. But listen to me closely, Brad. If you pull that trigger, you are not just going to jail. I pointed at the screen. 5,000 witnesses. High-definition video. Premeditation. We have audio of you planning the murder. We have video of you attempting it. And if you shoot me now, it becomes a capital crime committed during the commission of a felony. I stepped closer. I was 2 feet away from the barrel. You shoot me. You go to the electric chair, I said. The words hung in the dusty air of the shed. Electric chair. It was an old-fashioned threat, but it carried a weight that prison did not. There is no plea deal for executing a witness on live stream, I continued. There is no parole. There is just a small room and a sponge and a switch. Is that how you want to go out, Brad? Do you want your last moment on earth to be strapped to a chair because you were too stupid to know when to fold? Brad was crying now. Open, ugly sobbing. The gun barrel dipped. But if you surrender, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper, if you put that gun down right now, you are just a thief. You are just a fraud. You go to prison for 10 years, maybe 15. You get 3 meals a day. You get a cot. You stay alive. I held out my hand. Not for the gun, but for his attention. It is simple math, Brad. You like math, don't you? Life or death, prison or the chair. Make the deal. He looked at the screen. He saw the comments calling him a monster. He saw the siren lights flashing blue and red through the cracks in the shed walls. He saw the end of his life as he knew it. But he also saw a way to keep breathing. He looked at Keisha. She was curled in a ball, her face pressed into the dirt. She had given up long ago. Brad let out a long, shuddering breath. The fight drained out of him like oil from a cracked pan. He was not a killer. He was just a desperate, greedy man who had pushed his luck until it broke. I don't want to die, he whispered. Then drop it, I said. He opened his hand. The revolver fell. It hit the dirt with a dull thud. It did not go off. It just lay there black and heavy and useless. Brad fell to his knees. He put his hands on his head. He curled forward until his forehead touched the floor. I am sorry, he wailed. I am so sorry, Reggie. I did not answer him. I did not offer him forgiveness. Forgiveness is for mistakes. This was not a mistake. This was a choice. I picked up the gun. It was heavy. I unloaded the cylinder and threw the bullets into the corner. I put the gun on the workbench. Then I turned to the camera. The red light was still glowing. The chat was going wild. He dropped it. Grandpa is a hero. Justice. I looked into the lens. I adjusted my tie. I brushed a speck of dust from my suit jacket. I am Reginald Carter, I said to the invisible ocean of people. I worked at Ford for 40 years. I built engines. I built a life. And nobody takes that away from me. Not the bank, not the scammers, and certainly not my son-in-law. I looked at the tablet screen one last time. Thank you for watching, I said. Then I sat down on my stool. I rested my hands on my knees. I listened to the heavy boots of the SWAT team running up the driveway. I listened to the shouting of the police officers. I was tired. My bones ached. My heart was heavy with the loss of my family, but my head was high. I had won, and the whole world knew it. The sirens were not just a sound, they were a physical force shaking the wooden walls of the shed like a hurricane. Blue and red lights sliced through the gaps in the planks, turning the dust in the air into a chaotic strobe light show. It was the sound of the end of the world for Brad and Keisha, but for me, it was the sound of the cavalry. Brad was on his knees, his hands on his head where he had surrendered moments before. But the noise changed him. The sheer volume of the police presence outside, the screeching of tires on the gravel, the amplified voices on the loudspeakers commanding us to exit with hands up, it snapped something inside his brain. The logic center shut down and the animal instinct took over, the instinct of a trapped rat. He scrambled up. He moved with a jerky, frantic energy. He looked at the door where the police were gathering. He looked at the dark corners of the shed. He looked at me sitting on my stool, calm as a judge. He realized there was no way out. He realized the Russians were the least of his problems now. He looked at Keisha. She was still curled on the floor, sobbing, her face buried in her hands. She looked small, defeated. Brad didn't see his wife. He didn't see the woman he had promised to love and cherish. He saw a shield. He lunged for her. He grabbed her by the back of her designer tracksuit. He hauled her up like she was a rag doll. "Get up!" he screamed. His voice was cracking. "Get up, you useless cow!" Keisha shrieked. It was a sound of pure terror. She flailed her arms, trying to grab onto the workbench, trying to grab onto the air. "Let me go!" she screamed. "Brad, let me go!" Brad didn't let go. He wrapped his arm around her neck. He pulled her tight against his chest. He was using her body to cover his own. He was going to try to walk out of there using her as a human bargaining chip. He had dropped the gun, but in his panic, he thought he could still negotiate. He thought he could still bully his way out of a life sentence. "We are walking out," he hissed in her ear. "You are going to tell them to back off. You are going to tell them I have a bomb. I don't care what you say. Just get me to the van." He started dragging her backward toward the door. His eyes were wild, darting from window to window. I watched them. I sat on my stool, my hands resting on my knees. I did not move. I did not shout. I was the witness. I was the camera. Keisha was clawing at his arm, her fingernails dug into his skin. She was fighting now, not for me, not for justice. She was fighting for her own survival. She twisted her head, she opened her mouth, and she bit him. She bit down hard on his forearm. I saw her jaw clench. I saw the fabric of his shirt stretch. Brad howled. It was a high-pitched sound of pain. He let go of her neck instinctively. He stumbled back, clutching his arm. "You bitch," he screamed. Keisha didn't wait. She scrambled away from him. She fell to her knees, then got up running. She ran across the dirt floor. She ran toward the only safety she had ever known. She ran toward me. "Daddy," she screamed. Her voice was raw. "Daddy, help me. He is crazy. Save me, Daddy." She was running to me just like she used to when she was 5 years old and had a bad dream. She was running to the man who checked under her bed for monsters. She was running to the man who had put Band-Aids on her scrapes and wiped away her tears. She reached me. She fell at my feet. She grabbed my legs, hugging my knees. She buried her face in my suit trousers. "Don't let him hurt me," she sobbed. "Please, Daddy." I didn't mean it. I didn't want to do it. Save me. I looked down at her. I looked at the top of her head. I saw the expensive highlights in her hair. I smelled the perfume she wore, which cost more than my weekly grocery bill. I felt her hands clutching me, begging for protection, begging for the shield of a father's love. My hands twitched. Every instinct I had as a parent screamed at me to reach down, to touch her hair, to pull her up and wrap my arms around her, to tell her it was going to be okay, to tell her that I would fix it. I had fixed her bicycles. I had fixed her cars. I had fixed her taxes. I had fixed everything for 40 years. But then I heard the voice in my head. It was clear. It was recorded. It was high definition. "Okay, just make it quick. I do not want him to suffer." Those were her words, her choice. She had authorized my death. She had agreed to erase me. She had chosen the money over the man standing above her. I froze. My heart turned into a stone in my chest, a heavy, cold stone that would not beat for her anymore. I did not reach down. I did not touch her hair. I did not offer her comfort. I kept my hands on my knees. I kept my back straight. I looked at the wall above her head. I stood like a statue. I stood like a monument to a father who had died the moment his daughter decided he was worth more dead than alive. Keisha looked up. She felt the coldness. She felt the lack of response. She looked into my face and she saw the door was closed. The lock was turned. The lights were out. "Daddy," she whispered. I said nothing. The shed door exploded inward. This time it wasn't Brad with a pickaxe, it was the SWAT team. They moved like a black tide. Helmets, shields, rifles. They poured into the small space, shouting commands that layered over each other into a wall of noise. Police, get down. Get on the ground. Hands where I can see them. Brad didn't have a chance. He was still clutching his bitten arm standing near the workbench. 3 officers hit him at once. They took him down hard. His face hit the dirt. I heard the air leave his lungs in a whoosh. They pinned him, knees in his back, arms wrenched behind him. "You are hurting me," Brad screamed into the dirt. "I have rights. You have the right to remain silent," an officer barked. The handcuffs clicked. It was a sharp, mechanical sound, the sound of a steel trap snapping shut. Keisha let go of my legs. She scrambled back, trying to distance herself from the violence. She tried to blend into the shadows near my stool. She tried to look like the victim, like the terrified hostage. She looked at the officers with wide, innocent eyes. "Thank God you are here," she cried. "He is crazy. He tried to kill us. He forced me to come here. I am the victim." An officer approached us. He was tall, wearing heavy armor. He looked at me. He saw an old man in a suit sitting calmly amidst the chaos. He saw the tablet in my hand. "Are you Reginald Carter?" he asked. His voice was muffled by his helmet, but it was respectful. "I am," I said. "Sir, we have the premises secured," he said. "You are safe." He looked down at Keisha. She was wiping her eyes, trying to look pitiful. "Officer, he kidnapped me," she sobbed. "He made me dig. He threatened my father." The officer didn't offer her a hand up. He reached to his belt. He pulled out a pair of zip ties. "Keisha Miller," he said. Keisha froze. She stopped crying instantly. She looked at the officer like he had spoken in a foreign language. "Yes," she said hesitantly. "Stand up," the officer ordered. "Put your hands behind your back." Keisha's mouth fell open. "What?" "No. You don't understand. I am the daughter. I am the one who called. Well, I didn't call, but I am on your side." "Ma'am, stand up," the officer repeated. His voice was not a request. Keisha stood up slowly. She looked at me. She looked for help. "Dad, tell them," she pleaded. "Tell them I saved you. Tell them I bit him." I looked at her. I looked at the woman who had brought a vial of poison to my house this morning. I said nothing. I just watched. The officer spun her around. He pulled her wrists together. She struggled a little, just a token resistance. "Why are you doing this?" she screamed. "I didn't do anything. It was all him. You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and fraud," the officer said, reciting the charges as he tightened the plastic cuffs. "Conspiracy." Keisha shrieked. "That is a lie. You have no proof. It is just his word against mine." The officer pointed to the wall, to the screen that was still glowing, to the live feed that was still broadcasting to 5,000 people. "We have the recording, ma'am," he said. "We heard the audio. We heard you agree to the overdose. We heard you discuss the disposal of the body. It is all there." Keisha went limp. The fight left her body. She looked at the screen. She saw the chat window scrolling. "She is guilty. Lock her up. She agreed to kill him." She realized then that there was no spin. There was no lie she could tell that would cover the sound of her own voice planning my death. They dragged Brad out first. He was weeping openly now, begging for protection from the Russians, begging for a deal, begging for his mother. He looked pathetic. A man who thought he was a wolf but was just a rabid dog. Then they took Keisha. She didn't scream anymore. She just looked at me. As the officer led her away, she turned her head. Her eyes locked onto mine. "I am sorry, Daddy," she whispered. I did not blink. I did not nod. I watched her until she was out the door, until the flashing blue lights swallowed her up. I was alone in the shed again. The police were securing the scene. They were taking pictures of the hole in the floor. They were tagging the pickaxe. They were collecting the fake gold brick. I looked at the empty space where my daughter had stood. I felt a phantom pain in my chest. It was the ghost of the love I used to have, but I pushed it down. I packed it away in the same box where I kept the old photos. I stood up. My legs were stiff. I adjusted my tie. I walked out of the shed into the morning light. The neighbors were all on their lawns. Mrs. Higgins from next door, the mailman, the kids waiting for the school bus. They were all watching. They were all silent. I walked past the police cars. I saw Keisha in the back of one. I saw Brad in the back of another. I did not stop. I walked up the steps to my porch. I sat in my rocking chair. I watched the police take my family away. I watched them dismantle the conspiracy that had almost killed me. I was 75 years old. I was alone. I had no wife. I had no daughter. But I was alive, and I was free. And that was enough. The doctor handed me a note. Don't go home. Run. That night I discovered why. Part 15. Jail and Lawyer. The county jail smelled like bleach and cheap floor wax. It is a smell that sticks to your clothes. It sticks to your skin. I sat on a metal stool bolted to the floor. The room was cold. They keep it cold on purpose. It makes the prisoners quiet and the visitors uncomfortable. I was wearing my work clothes today. Flannel shirt, jeans, boots. I wasn't the man in the suit anymore. I was just a father coming to see the wreckage of his life. I waited. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. Tick, tick, tick. It sounded like the countdown to an execution. Then the door on the other side of the glass opened. Keisha walked in. She was wearing an orange jumpsuit. It was too big for her. It hung off her shoulders. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. Her face was scrubbed clean of makeup. She looked 10 years older than she had yesterday. She looked small. She sat down. She picked up the phone. Her hands were cuffed. The chains rattled against the counter. I picked up my phone. "Daddy," she whispered. Her voice was thin, broken. It cracked on the word daddy. "I am so glad you came," she said. "I didn't think you would come." I looked at her. I looked for my little girl. I looked for the toddler who used to chase fireflies in the jar. But all I saw was a stranger in a cage. "I had to come, Keisha," I said. "I needed to see you." She started to cry. It was an ugly, desperate crying. She pressed her forehead against the glass. "It is a nightmare, Daddy," she sobbed. "You have to get me out. It is terrible in here. The women, they are scary. The food is rotten. I can't stay here." She looked up at me. Her eyes were pleading. "You have to post bail," she said. "The lawyer said it is set at 100,000. You have the house. You have the savings. Please, Daddy, just get me out and I will explain everything." "Explain," I said. "Yes," she said. "I need to tell you the truth." It was Brad. It was all Brad. She leaned in closer. Her eyes went wide and intense. "He manipulated me, Daddy. He is a sociopath. He controlled everything. He made me do it. He said if I didn't help him with the tablet, if I didn't help him with the gas, he would hurt me. He would hurt Olivia." I listened. I let her talk. "He beat me," she whispered. She pointed to a small bruise on her arm. "He hit me when I tried to say no. I was a hostage in my own marriage, Daddy. I was scared. I just wanted to protect you. I thought if we put you in the home, you would be safe from him. I didn't want to kill you. I never wanted that. I just wanted to get you away from him. It was a good story. It was a story that would play well to a jury. The battered wife, the coerced accomplice. It painted her as a victim just like me, and a part of me wanted to believe it. God knows I wanted to believe it. I wanted to believe that my blood was clean, that the rot was only in the branch that had grafted itself onto our family tree. But I am a mechanic, and when an engine knocks, you don't just listen to the noise. You look at the oil. You look for the metal shavings. You look for the evidence of wear that has been happening for miles. I reached into my bag. I pulled out a manila folder. I held it up to the glass. Keisha stopped crying. She looked at the folder. "What is that?" she asked. "This is the oil analysis," I said metaphorically. "This is the truth." I opened the folder. I pressed a sheet of paper against the glass. It was a bank statement. But not from last week, not from last month. It was dated 5 years ago. "Jamal found this," I said. My voice was steady. He went back deep into the archives. He looked at the old accounts. "The ones I never checked because I trusted you. The ones I set up for your rainy day fund." Keisha stared at the paper. Her eyes flicked back and forth, reading the lines. 5 years ago, I said, Brad was still selling timeshares in Florida. He wasn't in debt to the Russians yet. He wasn't trading crypto. I pointed to a transaction. $5,000. Withdrawal. Casino in Atlantic City. I flipped the page. $2,000. Luxury handbag store. Online purchase. I flipped another page. $10,000. Transfer to a private account in your name, not a joint account with Brad. Your name, Keisha. I kept flipping. The pages rustled in the quiet room. 5 years of theft, I said. 5 years of you dipping your hand into my pocket while you smiled at my table and ate my food. You were draining me dry long before Brad got desperate. Keisha pulled back from the glass. The tears stopped. The fear remained, but the innocent act vanished. Her face hardened. You didn't need it, she said. Her voice was cold now, flat. You were sitting on it. You were living like a pauper. Why? To prove a point. To be the humble mechanic. I earned it, I said. And I deserved it, she snapped. I am your daughter. I shouldn't have to struggle while you sit on a pile of cash just to feel righteous. There it was, the truth. It wasn't fear. It wasn't coercion. It was entitlement. Brad didn't corrupt you, I said. He just gave you a bigger shovel. Keisha looked away. She looked at the guard standing by the door. He was useful, she muttered. He was ambitious. I thought he would make us rich. But he was just a gambler, a loser. She looked back at me. But I am your daughter, she said. You cannot leave me in here, not with these people. I am not a criminal, Daddy. I just wanted what was mine. Yours, I asked. It wasn't yours, Keisha. It was never yours. It would have been, she said. When you died, it would have been mine. I just accelerated the schedule. I felt a chill go through me. She talked about my death like it was a calendar appointment, a business transaction that was running late. You were the mastermind, I said. It wasn't Brad pushing you. It was you pushing him. You found the forger. You found the doctors. Brad was the muscle, but you were the architect. I put the folder down. No, I said. What she asked. No bail, no lawyer money, no character witness. Keisha stood up. Her chair scraped loud on the floor. You can't do this, she screamed. I am your flesh and blood. You owe me. You adopted a stray and you owe him everything, but you won't help your own daughter. I stood up too. I leaned close to the glass. I owed you a father, I said, and I gave you that. I gave you a home. I gave you an education. I gave you love. I looked at her hands, the hands that had held the shovel yesterday morning. But I don't owe you my life, I said, and I certainly don't owe you my death. Keisha slammed her fists against the glass. The sound was dull and heavy. I will rot in here, she screamed. I will die in here. Then maybe you will have time to think, I said. I turned around. Daddy, wait, she yelled. Daddy, please. I am sorry, I will change. I walked toward the door. I did not look back. I knew if I looked back, I might hesitate. I might see the little girl in the pink dress again. But that little girl was gone. She had been gone for 5 years, maybe longer. I pushed the heavy metal door open. The air in the hallway was still cold, but it felt cleaner. I walked out of the jail. The sun was high in the sky. It was noon. The parking lot was full of cars. People going about their lives. People who didn't have to lock their children in cages. I got into my old truck. I sat there for a long time gripping the steering wheel. My hands were shaking, not from fear this time, from grief. It is a terrible thing to bury a child, but it is a different kind of terrible to bury them while they are still breathing. I had cut the limb to save the tree. That is what I told myself. I started the engine. It roared to life, a good strong sound, reliable. I put it in gear and drove away. I left my daughter behind. She had sold her soul, I thought. She had sold it for handbags and trips and the promise of easy money. She had sold it cheap, and now she was going to have to pay the bill. I drove toward the highway. I had one more stop to make. I had to see Jamal. I had to tell him it was done. And then I had to figure out how to live the rest of my life with a hole in my heart where my family used to be. But I was free. I was safe. And I was still standing. That had to be enough. The house sold in 3 days. It was a good market, just like Brad had said. The irony was not lost on me. He had been right about the equity, but he had been wrong about who would spend it. I walked through the empty rooms one last time. The furniture was gone. The pictures were packed. The rug where Brad had tried to stage my fall was rolled up in the back of my truck. The echo of my boots on the hardwood floor sounded lonely. I went into the kitchen. I looked at the stove. I touched the knob that Brad had turned to fill the room with gas. I felt a shiver, but it wasn't fear. It was just a memory fading like smoke. I went to the living room. I looked at the corner where the bookshelf used to be, the spot where Keisha had torn apart my library looking for a fortune that didn't exist. I couldn't stay here. Too many ghosts. Every time I looked at the dining table, I saw the wine stain. Every time I looked at the front door, I saw the police taking my daughter away. A house is like an engine. Once the block is cracked, you can't just weld it back together. You have to swap it out. You have to start fresh. I locked the front door for the last time. I threw the keys into the lockbox for the new owners. A young couple. They had a baby on the way. I hoped they would fill the house with better memories than I had left behind. I drove to the courthouse for the sentencing. It was a cold, gray day, the kind of day that feels like winter is coming early. I sat in the back row. I didn't want them to see me. I just wanted to see it end. Brad was up first. He wore a prison uniform that was too tight in the shoulders. He had shaved his head. He looked harder but also smaller. He didn't look like a real estate mogul anymore. He looked like a thug who had lost his luck. The judge was a woman with eyes like flint. She had watched the video. She had heard the tapes. She didn't buy the sob story about the gambling addiction. She didn't buy the tears. Bradley Miller, she said. You preyed on the vulnerable. You betrayed the trust of a family. You conspired to commit murder for financial gain. She hammered the gavel. 25 years. No parole eligibility for 20. Brad didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just slumped. He knew it was over. The Russians couldn't get him in maximum security, but he wasn't going to be living the high life either. He was going to rot. Then they brought Keisha in. She looked frail. Her hair was graying at the roots. She scanned the courtroom. Her eyes lingered on the empty seats where her friends should have been. She didn't see me in the back. Her lawyer tried to argue coercion. He tried to say she was a victim of Brad's manipulation. But the prosecutor played the tape again. The tape where she said, "Make it quick." The tape where she agreed to erase me. The judge looked at her with pity, but it was a cold pity. "Keisha Miller," she said, "you had a choice. You could have called the police. You could have warned your father. Instead, you brought the poison. 15 years. Keisha let out a small gasp. She put her head on the table. I stood up. I didn't wait for them to take her away. I turned my back and walked out of the courtroom. I walked out into the gray afternoon. It was done. The book was closed. I drove to a diner near the university. Jamal was waiting for me in a booth. He had his laptop open, of course. He was drinking coffee. He looked tired, but he looked good. He looked free. I sat down. I slid a heavy envelope across the table. "What is this?" Jamal asked. "Open it," I said. He opened the flap. He pulled out a cashier's check. He looked at the number. His eyes went wide. "Grandpa," he whispered, this is too much." "It is the house money," I said. "Part of it. It is enough to pay off your student loans. It is enough to finish your master's degree without working 2 jobs. It is enough to give you a start." He tried to push it back. "I can't take this," he said. "It is your retirement." "I have my pension," I said. "I have my savings. I don't need a big house. I got a small apartment near the park. It is easy to clean." I put my hand over his. "Take it, Jamal. You saved my life. You gave me the tools to fight back. This is my investment in you. You are the only legacy I have left. Don't let me down." He looked at me. His eyes were wet. He nodded. "I won't, Grandpa," he said. "I promise." We drank our coffee. We talked about computers. We talked about the future. We didn't talk about Keisha. We didn't talk about Brad. They were the past. We were the present. A week later, I signed the lease on a storefront downtown. It was an old shoe repair shop. It needed paint. It needed wiring. It was perfect. I put a sign in the window. The Carter Center for Senior Independence. It wasn't a fancy name, but it said what it needed to say. I used the rest of the house money to buy equipment, computers, smart boards, security systems. I hired a retired lawyer to come in on Tuesdays. I hired a retired cop to come in on Thursdays. And I taught the classes myself on Wednesdays and Fridays. We taught old folks how to protect themselves. We taught them how to spot a scam email. We taught them how to set up 2-factor authentication. We taught them how to check their own bank statements and how to read the fine print on a power of attorney form. We taught them that being old doesn't mean being helpless. The first week we had 5 people. The second week we had 20. By the second month we had a waiting list. I saw the fear in their eyes when they came in. They were scared of the technology. They were scared of their own families. I told them my story. I didn't hide the ugly parts. I told them about the gas. I told them about the tablet. You have to be your own firewall, I told them. You have to be the one who controls the switch. One afternoon, after a class on password security, I went to the electronics store. The big one with the bright lights and the loud music. I walked to the tablet aisle. A young salesman with a blue shirt walked up to me. He looked at my gray hair and my cane. He smiled that condescending smile I knew so well. "Can I help you find something simple, sir?" he asked. "Maybe something with big buttons." I looked at him. "I want the Pro model," I said. "Maximum storage, cellular capability, and I want the rugged case." He looked surprised. "That is a lot of machines, sir. Are you sure you can handle the setup? We offer a service for $50. We can set it up for you." I laughed. It was a genuine laugh. "No thank you, son," I said. "I think I can handle it." I bought the tablet, I paid cash, I took it to Jamal's loft that night. We sat at his kitchen island, I opened the box, I peeled off the plastic, I turned it on. The Apple logo glowed. "Okay," Grandpa Jamal said, "let's lock this thing down." He walked me through it, but he didn't do it for me. He let me tap the screen, he let me type the passwords. We set up the biometrics. But this time I knew where the data was going. We encrypted the drive, we installed a VPN, we turned off the tracking features, we set up alerts for any unauthorized access. When we were done, the screen was glowing with my apps, my banking, my email, my photos of Betty. It was secure, it was a fortress. I held it in my hands. It didn't feel like a bomb anymore. It felt like a tool. It felt like a shield. I looked at Jamal. "Thank you," I said. For what he asked. For teaching me, I said. For showing me that I didn't have to be afraid of the new world. He smiled. "You taught yourself, Grandpa. I just gave you the manual." I put the tablet in my bag. I stood up. "I have to go," I said. "I have a class tomorrow morning. Mrs. Higgins wants to know how to block her nephew on Facebook." I walked to the elevator. I went down to the street. The city lights were bright. The air was cold. But I felt warm. I was 75 years old. I lived alone. My daughter was in prison. My house was gone. But I had never felt stronger. I took out my new tablet. I tapped the screen. It unlocked instantly, recognizing my face. My face. No one else's. I checked my calendar. I had a busy week. I put the tablet away and walked down the street. My step was light. I was Reginald Carter, and I was just getting started. Moral of the story. We spend our lives building a fortress to protect our children from the world, never suspecting that sometimes we need to protect ourselves from them. Love should be unconditional, but trust. Trust must always be earned regardless of DNA. I learned that silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's just the sound of a trap waiting to snap. My daughter thought my age made me weak, but she forgot one thing: roots grow deeper as the tree grows older. You can try to cut me down, but you better make sure you don't fall when the timber crashes. The lake was glass. That is what Betty used to say about the water early in the morning when it was so still it reflected the clouds perfectly. I sat on my folding chair with my boots resting in the damp grass. The air smelled of pine needles and wet earth. It was a good smell. It was a clean smell. It was the smell of a world that didn't need passwords or encryptions to make sense. Next to me, Jamal cast his line. The reel sang a quiet little zip sound as the lure flew out over the water. It landed with a soft plop that barely disturbed the silence. He was getting good at it. He used to be impatient. He used to want to catch the fish before the hook even hit the water. But he had learned. The last 11 days had taught him that patience is not just about waiting. It is about being ready when the moment comes. My new tablet sat on the cooler between us. It was not recording us. It was not tracking our biometrics. It was playing a little Sam Cooke, low and sweet, just enough to fill the silence without breaking it. I looked at the black screen. People say technology is the future. They say it makes life easier. They say it connects us. But I learned the hard way that technology is just a tool, like a hammer. You can use a hammer to build a shelter, or you can use it to crush a thumb. It does not have a conscience. It does not have a soul. It just does what the hand holding it tells it to do. Brad and Keisha tried to use it as a leash. They tried to use it as a weapon to strip me of my dignity. They thought the silicon and the glass made them smarter than me. They thought the code made them invincible. But they forgot that every machine has a master. And if you know how the machine works, if you know where the kill switch is, you are not the victim. You are the operator. It is not about the device. It is about who controls the power button. And for the first time in a long time, I had my finger on the switch. It had been 2 months since the sentencing. The house was sold. The Carter Center was open and full of students learning how to protect themselves. The noise of the trial had faded. I did not visit the prison. I did not write letters. I had said my goodbye in that shed when I watched the police car drive away. The daughter I raised was gone long before the handcuffs clicked. I mourned her, yes. I felt the phantom pain of a limb that had been amputated, but I also felt the health returning to the rest of the body. The rot was gone. The infection had been cut out. "You think they are biting today, Grandpa?" Jamal asked. He kept his eyes on the red and white bobber floating in the mist. He looked peaceful. The stress lines were gone from his forehead. "They will bite when they are hungry," I said. "And if they don't, we still have the sunrise." Jamal smiled. He looked like me around the eyes. He had Betty's chin. He was the best parts of us, the parts that survived. "I signed up for that advanced cryptography class," he said, "Latini, the one you paid for." "Good," I said. Learn it all. Learn how to build the walls. Learn how to tear them down. But never forget who you are behind the screen. Never let the machine tell you what is right and what is wrong." "I won't," he promised. "And Grandpa?" "Yeah, son. Thanks for the fishing pole. It beats a keyboard any day." I chuckled. It was a rusty sound, but it felt good. "Don't tell your boss that. We need someone on the inside." I took a deep breath. The cold air filled my lungs. I was 75 years old. I had scars on my hands and scars on my heart. I had lost the house I built, but I had saved the home inside me. I was not just a survivor. I was a victor. I watched the sun crest over the tree line, turning the gray water into liquid gold. Real gold. Not painted lead, not fool's gold. This was the treasure, this moment, this peace, this boy sitting next to me who would carry my name into a future I would not see. I reeled in my line just a little to keep the tension. I was ready for whatever came next. I was Reginald Carter. I was a mechanic. I was a father. And I was finally free. We spend our lives building a fortress to protect our children from the world, never suspecting that sometimes we need to protect ourselves from them. Love should be unconditional, but trust. Trust must always be earned regardless of DNA. I learned that silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's just the sound of a trap waiting to snap. My daughter thought my age made me weak, but she forgot one thing. Roots grow deeper as the tree grows older. You can try to cut me down, but you better make sure you don't fall when the timber crashes. We are often told that family is everything, that we must forgive them no matter the cost. But I learned that loyalty has an expiration date when it is met with betrayal. My daughter saw my age as a weakness, a fading light she could extinguish for a payout. She didn't realize that old wood burns the hottest. Never let anyone, not even your own flesh and blood, convince you that you are finished. You are the author of your own life, and you hold the pen until the very last page. Guard your heart, guard your home, and never apologize for surviving. If you believe that justice always finds a way, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories of truth and redemption.